doing, folks? In this episode today, we're going to do a World Cup Mogul Tour season preview for 2023-2024. And in this episode, I'm joined by former Canadian national team coach Rob Cover and former U.S. ski team coach Bryan Zemba. And in this episode, we go through and discuss kind of our thoughts on the upcoming season, some of the off-season training. We go into a little bit of judging and just some of the new courses and some of the players and different competitors in the game this year. Really hope you folks enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of fun getting a chat with those guys. And then after, if you want to stick around, we did end up trying to record a podcast when I was at a training camp in Idrefjell, Sweden at the end of October with some of the French national team and former U.S. ski team athletes that are now coaches with different programs. So it was great getting a chat with head French coach Albert Bedouet, his assistant Jules Escobar, on the development team coaches. We also had athlete Benjamin Cavet in there as well to discuss. Also Emerson Smith, former U.S. ski team and Olympian, and Brad Wilson, former Olympian, who's now coaching some of the club teams, Wasatch Freestyle. And then, of course, Bryan Zemba was also there helping Wasatch out at that camp. And so we got to have a great roundtable discussion. Audio got just a little bit chopped up and just a little bit tough. So it's kind of like, should release it or not? And just after looking through and just decided to throw this on as a little bonus content. So if you want to stick around, that's on at the end of the preview we did, just the preview chat we did just the other day. So hope you folks enjoy this episode. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks. All right. Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to come on here and do this, do a little preview of the season. Appreciate it. It was a little bit tough to juggle all the different time zones we got here. Finland, Canada, East Coast, kind of all over the map. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know Emerson Smith might pop in here at any moment if he can get his internet to work. So we might have one more joining us. But thank you guys so much for taking the time.
Yeah, you betcha. Thanks for the invite again.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Bob.
Yeah, of course. So as I was talking to Rob a little bit earlier and Zemba, that we did do one of these a little bit of a preseason kind of Mogul talk in Idre when we were at camp there with some of the French team and Emerson and Brad, and so I might throw that in at the end of this. That was about 2 hours and 6-7 bottles of wine, so that was a lot of fun. The audio quality not great, but there's some real Mogul nerds that want to listen to us
great content.
Stammer on for a little bit. Might throw that at the end here, but I'll just kind of start with leaving it to the floor for you guys. Just kind of some initial thoughts, kind of going into the season. You know, it's been a long break and plenty of social media and video clips and everything else. So kind of just some initial thoughts. I'll start with you, Rob.
Yeah, well, I definitely look forward to hearing more of your perspective, Bob. You probably got your finger on the pulse better than anybody right now. Definitely feeling more out of the loop than ever on my end. But for sure, I think, just looking at the lineup on both the men's and the women's sides, I think, the couple notable absences on the women's sides, but which will be a good opportunity for some of the top women to step up and kind of fill those gaps. But I think I kind of expect to see the usual suspects kind of at the top of the rankings again. But for sure, there's going to be some surprises. There'll be some of the stronger younger kids that I think we'll see make noticeable strides, kind of start to penetrate the upper rankings for sure.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. It's going to be interesting, and for those out there that aren't aware, Perrine Lafont, defending world champion and World Cup overall champion, is going to be off, deciding to just take a little bit of a break to I guess ramp up next season for world champs and kind of an Olympic run, but deciding to take this year off. And then Henri is at least not skiing the first part of the tour here. She's deciding, I know she's coming back from a little knee injury that she setbacks that she suffered over the summer, so she's not going to be competing for the first of these few events. I don't know if she'll be back. I haven't been able to talk to Yanni or any of the Japanese if she'll kind of be back for that next January North American push, but at least for first holiday push here, I guess she's going to be sidelined. Not sure of anybody else kind of being out. I think everybody on the women's side should be in. On the men's side, not aware of anyone that's going to be sidelined, or haven't seen anything like that yet. But it's a lot of new exciting stuff for the season. One of the biggest ones that we were chatting about last time, but we have that new course in Idre, so that should be pretty exciting. I know most of the athletes are pretty happy with the change there and in that. So Bryan, any comments to start before we kind of dive right in?
Looking forward to another season, another go at it. Like we touched about in the beginning of the like you were just touching on, Bobby, some key players off the result sheet this year, so it should be for a little bit of an interesting top 6 from week to week. Excited for some new spots to come on the World Cup tour this year. We got another World Cup back in the States this year on the East Coast. So that should be fun. New event is always exciting. And I think last year there was a lot more of the younger boys kind of climbing up the result sheet, chasing the old guard, the old dog Nick down. So while I still think he'll be tough to dethrone, looking forward to hopefully a little bit more kind of parity throughout the top of the result sheet. So it's exciting to get things going this weekend, and then to Idre, where I was fortunate enough to check that course out a couple weeks ago. It was a sweet course. Yeah, great consistency, great build. So it should be a show.
Yeah, that the EJ course is really they did an awesome job with it. It's definitely a lot steeper. I wouldn't say it's quite as steep as Ruka, but it's definitely like night and day compared to where it was. It's got some really good length to it. I want to say when we were training there, it was about 240 meters, and some good pitch. Kind of actually gets a little bit steeper going into that bottom air. Kind of reminded me a little bit, not quite as steep as like Calgary in the late thousands there, like 2008, 2000, not quite that steep. I know there's been some flatter builds on that. I would say it was a little bit, probably the last World Cup they had at Calgary, where they kind of flattened that out a little bit. And then a little bit of kind of Val Malenko feel to me, just in the fact where if you really weren't on top of it those last like 4 turns, you were going to be in really rough shape getting into that bottom area. You kind of really had to make sure that you were on your stuff. Otherwise, it would definitely spit you out. So that's kind of the feeling I got going at least into the bottom area of Val Malenko. But I think pretty good consistent pitch and nice steeper course. It's nice to see that on the tour. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch the FIS Open that they had, that was pretty entertaining, but you could tell that was kind of on the tail end of that build. It looked pretty meaty and pretty tough in there.
Looked a lot different than the old course, that's for sure. You could tell the kids were working for it way more, but still possible to look good. Like the top guys ripped still, so that's kind of, in my opinion, that's kind of what we're going for. But it was ridiculous. It was long overdue. I think the World Cup tour turned a blind eye to a pretty severe failure to meet spec on a World Cup course, and I think that's it's good. It's good to hear. It was good to see that event, but it's about time.
No, definitely, and it'll be nice. Not only having that new course there, but then also the course in Water Valley, New Hampshire. That's a good that'll create a challenge for the athletes. Yeah. That's definitely not a easy course. It's definitely got some good pitch to it, and be exciting to kind of go back to the birthplace of freestyle.
Kind of the same course that would have been used historically. Like, is there kind of a go-to course at Waterville, or does it kind of move around?
growing up, it was on what was called True Grit, which was kind of steep, and Bobby skied True Grit at juniors 2 years. So it was kind of steep and then flatten out. But when they would hold big events like Eastern Champs, and they've held nationals, they held nationals there now twice. The latest being last season, they hold it on what's called Bobby's Run, which is right around that 240 to 250, nice consistent pitch. Yeah, it's a good course. Hopefully they get a good showing, and hopefully, as the biggest hope is, hopefully we have good weather. So
yeah, no doubt.
But it's
Yeah,
off to a
East
great
Coast in
start here on the
January.
East. Yeah, the East has been great so far. Killington has gotten a foot of snow the past 2 days. Sunday River's been good. Early season conditions. The World Cup was good conditions. So hopefully staying cold. We haven't had the full thaw, reset, grass, Thanksgiving. So that was nice. So hopefully it just keeps on rolling.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be exciting. Exciting to see a new venue on the tour here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be good. And it's pretty easy. Not terrible access for fans and stuff like that. I think it's just a quad and then like a 5-minute walk up, and usually they have pretty easy walking traffic for that. Anybody can kind of take the high-speed quad up to the bottom, and then there's a little lodge down there at the bottom as well. And be interested if they do any with some of the snow blowing for the top section. That was at least the one thing I kind of remember, is maybe the top section was a little bit flat, and then it really kind of, the middle section and the rest of it was pretty steep. But I do remember the top section being a little bit flat there. But that was a long time ago. Galaxy far, far away. Yeah, here Corson Ruka's been just finishing up the rebuild, so looks great. The training's been awesome. A little bit of an electrical fire, which we were kind of joking about before. So the lighting has been a little bit of an issue, and the quad, the high-speed quad right next to the lift, has been down for about 5 days, 6 days. So that's been a little bit troublesome. Makes the lap time a little bit longer, but it's been great training here. Aussies are training well, Austrians are training well, so it's been fun. And then be interesting to see how this
Austrians?
Austrians,
more than one?
Yes, yeah, there is more than one.
Nice. Nice. So did the piece, did it get totally
Nope.
raised, or
Nope.
still...
So the whole outside structure of that kind of building that's at the bottom is still there. It's just all the internal stuff. I guess you can't really walk inside. It's not a great smell in there, and they already have like a few kind of dumpster trucks of just like trash and garbage from the inside. So I think they're slowly but surely trying to salvage that building and kind of get all the kind of debris out. So yeah, I know it was
a lot of great
troublesome
memories from that place. So hopefully they can get her fixed back up.
Yeah, I think that's their plan. At least they're going to have it going, and probably took a little bit of a hit not being able to be open for the Nordic World Cup, which just happened, Nordic and cross country. But they still was plenty of people here and busy, and Ruka loves to have the openers, right? World Cup openers. So it looks like things should be pretty good. So, one of the things that I wanted to touch on, just that from last season, that's been a nice little adjustment, is they did put a little bit more time into breaking up some of the World Cups, where last year we had some time where it was about a day kind of in between, one day for arrival right into training, right from Idre to Alp. And FIS, at least this year, it's at least 2 days in between kind of each of the stops. So you get nice. 1 day to travel, 1 day to hopefully be able to find your bags and get them before training, so people can actually have their bags for the first day of training. But
that's good.
It should still be a tight schedule. So I know there was definitely a few coaches that were not super happy about having to travel to Bacriani right on Christmas Eve, travel back home. It's kind of that catch-22 though. You spend so much time in the off season kind of training for this and setting up for this, and So you want to have as many events as possible, but at the same time, that's a rough, and it's you know, we touched on it before, but it's kind of, you know, there's so many gaps in the schedule. Like we have such a big break in February after Deer Valley, and it would seem to, you know, Bakriani, Kazakhstan seem like they're pretty close together. Maybe you could just do that little swing before you come back for Valmalenko or something else, but maybe that just makes too much sense. I don't know.
Yeah, stuff like that, it sucks. There's no way around it. It sucks. Everybody just wants to go home for Christmas, but if you can just accept it, you know, get your mind wrapped around it and just not be one of the, you know, majority that's just going to be crying to get home and already have one foot on the plane. Like it's an opportunity at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity for sure.
I'm sure the king will look at it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to be wanting to take a medal home for Christmas. That's for sure.
Have you had a chance to talk to him at all? And
I haven't. I feel bad. I feel bad. I haven't talked to Mick. We had a beer back in the summer in Whistler.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure that's the last time I spoke to him, which is terrible. Need to make sure I touch base before the first event. Wish him luck and all that, but I'm sure he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, no, it seems kind of from looking everything, at least social media wise, it seems like all the teams are kind of firing on all cylinders. It'll be interesting, you know, that women's field session will be a little bit more wide open, so that'll be interesting. You know, Kyle will be coming back from her ACL injury. The women's team's always strong with Jalen and Hannah, Allie, Olivia. Such a deep women's team. Of course, Liz Lemley as well. She had a great season last year, so that'll be awesome. And then Canadian side, you got Schwinghammer, who's had an awesome season, and Berkeley. I think Lorianne's skiing here as well. So it's going to be a pretty. Then the Japanese team's always, you know, Henri might be out, but I'm sure they'll have some young phenom kind of backfilling that spot. It always seems to work out that way.
They're super good. I think those girls, there's some really good skiers, and they always seem to me to just lack confidence and seem to, like, I think if I'm totally honest, I think as a team, the Japanese team on both sides are probably the strongest team technically right now, on the skiing side anyways. Yeah. Maybe not on the jumping side, but on the skiing side. But they really seem to underachieve on a, you know, kind of chronically underachieve. And
on game day. Yeah, their performance strike is always a little off.
Yeah. Like Henri was so good, but I don't know, like, how many fourths did she have last year? It seemed like she was always kind of just off the win or just off the box. And it's I was really bummed to hear about her injuries. See if she is still pretty young, I guess. So if she keeps her body in one piece, she's got lots of time to figure it out. But you know, other than Akuma, like, there's so many of those kids. They're so good, and they just can't quite deliver.
Even with Akuma, how many times are you like, oh man, that was like held it together here? That's a no doubt win. And how many times you see the winning run in training? I mean, you could say that for many of us, but like with him particularly, totally. You're like, holy crap! Like, it's a different league when he's on.
Yeah, that's for. I feel like I really don't know for sure, but I think I said it last year too. Like, the big question I have for Akuma is he healthy? Will he have a healthy season? I feel like the last couple of years, there's always been niggly little stuff that's really hindered him, and he just hasn't seemed to be like on his game. You know, maybe like a little bit just choky at times too, but you know, when he was really, really at his best, like he was really starting to find that confidence, like just the way he carried himself on the mogul course. He's starting to seem like he's really starting to believe in himself. Like I'm the man, you know, like maybe I am the guy that can take down Mick. Like you started to kind of feel that kind of energy from him. And the last couple of years, I'm not around, so it's really, you know, I'm kind of full of shit say that, but that's the feeling I get watching him. It's just like,
That's what this is, Rob.
Like he's just like a little bit,
sports
something
radio.
in his back or his hip or his knee or something's like just bugging him just enough to really take the edge off,
Yeah. No, he still definitely has those moments of brilliance. And I remember one of his training runs in Bacariani on it was finals training or something like that. I mean, Akuma was laying down some serious heat where you're like, man, if he can do that, it's gonna be fun to watch to see who's gonna be able to top that run, because he was skiing really, really well. And maybe he'll have some newfound confidence now that he's on his way to being a father.
No way.
No, yeah, I saw that on. Yes, he's
wow.
Yep.
Yeah,
he got married, and he's got a kid on the way. So that's
good for him. Wow, that's
big
amazing.
congrats for him. Yeah, so maybe that'll be some inspiration for him in the next couple of years here to it'll be an interesting, exciting part of life.
Yeah, very cool. Wow, good for him. That's amazing.
Yeah, no,
it's gonna make it harder to be on tour though, that's for sure. But
yep. Yeah,
we can find some motivation from that.
Yeah, no, it'll be I think I haven't seen him out here yet, so I'm assuming he's flying in and he'll be ready for the training days. That's for sure. So, but that team looked good. When we were Idre, got the training there, got the chance to train alongside the French team, some of the Swedish team. French team's looking really strong, especially Ben skiing well. Like one of the French kids, I can't remember which name, but he had a really nice run going, big cork 14 on the bottom air, which he just kept stomping over and over again. So I'm excited to see how he goes. That was impressive to watch, because that was definitely not the easiest course. It definitely had a little bit of teeth to it. So I'm excited to see how that will translate here. And then Fantine was skiing well. Camille was skiing well. Cam Cabral was, she had some really nice turns. And Martin Sewer, I think it's Sewer. He's had some really, really nice turns in the past. He just had a tough time kind of being able to stay healthy. I think he's had 4 ACL surgeries. I think he's had two in each knee.
Right.
So if he had the opportunity to be able to stay healthy, he's really got some that's quality stuff.
He seems like the kind of kid, I don't know him at all, but I have seen him ski here and there, and he's like the classic old school mogul skier that tries a little too hard in the contest run, just tries to ski just a little over his head, and one time out of 5 or 6 it'll pay off, and the other times he's lucky to walk away, kind of thing. So so hopefully he walks away more often than not, because he is a good skier. Hopefully kind of keep building on that,
be able to definitely keep building in. So Swedes are especially on the men's side, just on the home course, they were definitely getting their feet wet with that new course, and laying down some fast runs, from Philip, and the Holmgren brothers were both skiing well as well, and Rasmus, and of course Walter. They all were laying down some heat. So I know that they definitely, in talking to Harald and Lasse, have had plenty of volume and great fall training, and so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of portends towards the season. So, Rob, I actually had a question, or just kind of your thought on it, of just how much of an advantage do you find it, or do you think it is, to be able to have all like that, if it's extra volume or extra, TDBs kind of going into a season? Do you think that's super beneficial, or do you think that kind of starts to weigh on you throughout the year? What's kind of, I guess, if you have a really, really good time to peak and then it's too much, I mean, do you have just kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, for sure. I think it, for kids that are sort of in the first half of their career, I think it's super important. It's case by case for sure. But like, I'm a big believer in the volume. I would track a few different stats. And I think that you definitely, if you're skiing, if you're a guy and you're skiing, you're finishing 80 to 85% of your top to bottoms at 10 meters per second for an average velocity, you're going to be going into the World Cup season pretty confident. I think that's half the battle, is knowing that you can finish a run. If you have the discipline to ski your run, to have a plan and be able to execute. If you're 80 to 85%, if you're 100%, you're not trying hard enough, because no one's going to be 100%, right? So there should be a certain kind of buffer where you're pushing your limits, you're pushing your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're lower, like if you're doing all these top to bottoms and you're only 50%, like you're not going to be that confident in the start gate. That's, even if you're not tracking those stats, as an athlete, you're going to have a general feel for how things are going. And if you're only finishing 50% of the runs that you're trying to finish, then you're not going to be, you're going to be hopeful in the start gate. And some kids, that's where maybe sometimes it's an advantage to be a little bit delusional, and the smarter kids are going to be maybe at a disadvantage if they've had a bad season. They kind of have that kind of feeling. But yeah, the short answer to your question is that yeah, absolutely. I think once you are into the second half of the season, like guys like Mick, when the years that I got to coach PA towards the end of his career, for sure, it becomes much more about managing, your health and fitness, and the volume becomes less important. For someone like Mick, if he's healthy, like he loves it, he still clearly loves it. So I think it's good for him just to kind of keep the fun going, as long as, he's not in pain. I think he's going to be enjoying the training, but he doesn't need it. Like, I don't think he needs it anymore. But I think that's why he's so solid now, is because every off season for the first 10 years of his career, probably, and up till now, probably, other than when he's had to back down because of the couple recent injuries he's had in the last few seasons, he's done several hundred top to bottoms in the off season at intensity. So for sure, it's like he's already got all these, all the qualities of a great competitor, of a great champion, and you have all that training in the bank, and you're going to be feeling pretty solid going into the season, going into the start gate in any given event.
Right. No, it definitely makes sense to have that. I was just kind of curious as where you are in your career, a little bit earlier, later, like it's good.
I tell you, like PA, he got it done in Vancouver. He didn't do a single top to bottom until like for probably the month before. He didn't do a single top to bottom, and between the last World Cup before the games and probably contest day in Vancouver. Like, it was all like he had a very distinct plan. He managed this volume very well.
Yeah.
And he didn't need to do any top to bottoms. He ended up, just off the box, unfortunately, but had a great run, under pressure, on the biggest stage in our sport. And super, super proud of that guy on that day. It was an amazing process, but zero top to bottom, like zero. So it just goes to show you.
Some people like to do it that way. Just save it for the, I guess if you can just save it for the event, it's kind of, it's interesting, I guess, when you spend so much time around all the athletes, and I feel like it's pretty, I guess it's just like known in my opinion, like in the US, a lot of people can have poor training, but then once it's go time and it's the comp run, that seems to happen quite a lot, at least with the American side. Like, I've been at so many events where haven't skied well, haven't gotten down the course once, and then like, okay, it's comp run. Like, yep, gonna pull it together. You get from the top to the bottom. And it's kind of interesting that it's been a little bit of I would say some learning with some of the different countries and everything else, and a little bit spending some time in Australia and everything else, that the mentality is, it's not that, I don't know if it's necessarily mentality or just, how you kind of grow up, and that it seems like if their training is not in the club level, or, if some of the national team guys aren't really training at that like really high level, they'll sometimes not be able to ski like at the peak ability, where I feel like a lot in the US, it's almost the opposite. Like, I've seen, it's several different times where it's like train like shit and then ski great. Which is kind of just, I just figured that's how all the countries, all the nations kind of seem the same, but that doesn't necessarily
it's interesting.
Doesn't seem that way. It's just
interesting.
American mentality,
Yeah, there's so many guys, Bobby. I don't want to single anyone out, but there's so many of the U.S. guys in the last 20 years that I think could have been so much better, but they kind of relied on that approach, like exactly like you're saying. And it'll work to a certain extent, but I just don't. I think there's so many guys, so many of the American guys that were so promising that never came close to their potential because of that very thing, that very approach. Like you can win, you could win a NORAM, or maybe you could win at nationals. You can kind of pull out a good result here and there, but to be consistently up there in the top 10, like there's definitely been some guys that I feel have had that potential, and their careers were shortened because of injury, because lacking that consistency. You can kind of fool yourself. You get away with that. I can remember. I can't remember if it was. I think it was Justine before the point. She'd kind of always talk about like contest power, that kind of thing, and she'd have poor training. She's like that example, exactly like what you were saying. She'd have crappy training and still friggin' win a World Cup. But man, I think you're selling yourself short when you do that. For sure, like I'm skewed by my values, my opinions, and my experience. But I think we had there were some good Canadian kids too that I had on the team that Ced Roshan was a good example. He had some good, he was on the box one time. I think he had a silver medal and one World Cup. And he was a regular top 10 guy, but he was not a consistent top 10 guy. And he wasn't the best. He was a great skier. He's a great kid. Really enjoyed coaching him. He was a funny guy. He was really well liked by his teammates. He was fun to have around. He was fun to coach. But he would always, he'd let himself off the hook, and he just wasn't willing to go that extra mile, like take one more run, or just really bear down and be focused for the training runs that counted. And it hurt him, like he was I was talking about those percentages. He was like a 50 or 60% kind of guy. And in training, and he was a 50 or 60% kind of guy in competition. And he had his share of good results, respectable results, but didn't have the career that he maybe could have. But it is what it is, and we're all affected by our own our own strengths and weaknesses. So
no, definitely true. Bryan, you have any idea on, or just thought on that? Because I do see a lot, and I remember just own experience, and I was usually, especially with Marchetti, was definitely top to bottom heavy. He definitely skied a lot of top to bottoms, and it was, he definitely talked about it being a mentality, and it being a big difference. So I would say I had a pretty good top to bottom percentage, but I just remember so many times, so many different US athletes that would have really, really poor training and then just be able to pull it out for like that run that, as Rob's talking about, would go on and ski World Cup and everything else, and not be super consistent. I mean, every once in a blue moon, they would have, as Rob would say, like a respectable result, but wouldn't, have that kind of consistent over time staying power.
I'd say, I think a bulk of the field, repetition is key, and how you train is how you compete. But then again, there's many out there that, how many times do we say, oh, the person won training again? But then once you get between those white lines, then what happened to that run in training? So I think it is a case by case basis, I'd say. But for once you get to the big leagues, so to say, the more you can make it part of your repertoire, then the more you don't kind of have to grasp at luck. You just kind of trust your stuff and rely on what you've been doing in prep, and it kind of takes care of itself after that. But so I'd say maybe 80% train how you compete, and then 20% is just pure crapshoot. And that depends on A, athlete, B, where the age, like where you are, like Rob was saying in training load. I think there's a good like football like quote, like practice. Like you wanted me to go this hard in practice. Like there's so many individuals that are, you know, they can or they have to almost save themselves just based on where they are in their career. You know, how many, it's a tough sport that we do. So how many more hits can they take, an injury take? So that goes into play. But I would be a proponent, at least in my coaching, of you train how you want to compete. Just that builds confidence, and then I would think builds results. So
Yeah, no, I think that definitely makes sense to me. I think top to bottoms are kind of critical in that aspect, and in that confidence point. You know, it's one of the things definitely talk about with my crew is there's always, you know, it's something completely different. Like, oh, I'm going to start 5 bumps up and hit this 10 like perfect, or hit this bottom air 7 just the way I want. Yeah. It's a completely different animal, like hauling ass from landing not in the best position on a top air and then skiing a whole middle section and hitting a bottom air. Like it's a completely different beast. So the more you can kind of get some experience points, or, you know, have that those different data points with the volume over time, I think it definitely makes it that much easier. So you have that confidence, whether you hopefully land as you should and are able to exit, ski nice aggressively in the middle, or maybe if you land in a little bit of a compromised position and you just got to let it ride out till you get to the bottom. I think that kind of it's definitely important, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
But yeah, also let's see which the Australian team's looking really good. We had a great summer down, or they would say winter down in Perisher. Not really snow wise, but we made it work. Tapa's dream was a little bit shorter than a little bit of a smaller dream, but still worked out well. Still able to get a course in, and top section I would say was a little bit shorter. It was only like probably like 6-7 turns to the top air. But yeah, the boys, Cooper Woods, Jackson Harvey, Ollie Logan, George Murphy, all skied really well down there. Jakara was just killing it down there as well. She's really skiing great. And then that's translated here. Matt had a little fix up on his shoulder, but he's been skiing typical. He just posted something the other day too, and he's looking really good. And I know that the team's really confident. Jakara's excited, and everybody seems like they're ready. And I know the boys are super excited. Ollie Logan will be his first World Cup start, and so I'm really excited to progress and the training that they've made. It should be it's gonna be fun to watch these first few weeks unfold. You know, it's one of those things, and you know, you boys know well, but you spend all this time kind of traveling around, and for these next like 3 or 4 weeks is what it's all built for, and it's going to go by so fast. And I'm not.
It is crazy.
You're going to embrace, and then next thing you're like, damn, yeah, I'm back to training. We're up in Apex. Here we are. We're getting some training done.
Like pulling up the schedule before we all met, I'm like, 9 stops. Like we do all this for 9 stops. Like that's crazy. Like 9 destinations. Jesus. And then aerials, my God, is 5 stops. You're like,
yeah, that's crazy.
It's a pure I was having a conversation with a friend this weekend, just like because you look at even on the racing side, which is more like prominent than the freestyle side, that's for sure. Like they get paid out 70,000 Swiss francs, they get paid out to top 30, and like you push out of the gate at the Hanekamp, you get 30th, it's $1,000. Like, is that really worth $1,000 going down that thing? Like, is it really worth at times pushing out of the gate at Ruka for maybe you get top 10 and make $800? Like, it is a pure passion sport, and like that's what kind of adds the charm of it, I would say. Like, why else would we be up at 5 a.m. and 11 o'clock at night bullshitting about mogul skiing?
Bullshitting about mogul skiing, that's right.
That's for sure.
It's definitely true. Hopefully we get some more eyes on it, though. You know, hopefully we weren't able to solve that issue from what I remember in our last meeting when we met with Albert and some of the French team, and over those 2 hours, and however many bottles of wine. We didn't solve all of mogul skiing's issues, but we did have a good time.
Yeah, no doubt. Is it Albert Bedouet? Is that?
Yep, he's the head coach,
yeah.
and then Jules
He's
Escobar
the
is
head coach?
one of his assistants. I can't remember the name of the head development.
I always forget. Yeah.
He was a
I
good
always forget.
skier too, Albert. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember him skiing at all, but he was like the other French kid we were talking about earlier. Like, he was just always tried a little too hard, like very fast skier, and just always seemed to let it get just a little bit away from him. I remember sitting very close to him on a flight where I can't remember for sure, but it was right after he blew his ACL. And I don't know if that was the end of his career, but it could have been. And just feeling really bad for him. I thought he was a really good skier and just never quite figured out how to deliver his best stuff. But yeah, it's nice to see him coaching.
Yeah, no,
sure
he's
do a good job.
Yeah, he's got all the whole team skiing at a high level, and I think they're in for a good season. That's for sure. I just sent Emerson a message to see if I can get some of his picks. Let's see. Oh, 1 second, just trying to see what we can get. Okay. I'm trying to see. He sent me a few different names. So I don't know if this is the overall, or if he's just got Ruka in here. Or we shall see what he comes back with. But do you guys got some picks for? I guess do you want to go through Ruka through Bakariani, or do you guys just want to do your overall, or how do you guys have you guys laid into or had some thought about some of the picks?
I thought of this weekend and then thought of overall.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
That's as far as you've gone so far. Okay.
Yeah. This weekend and then overall.
Okay. Rob?
What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I could probably do that. I could probably going through event by event. I don't know. I don't know about that, but yeah, for this event and for the overall, that sounds like fun. Try
Perfect.
To do our best here.
All right, Rob, why don't you start us off so I can keep track here?
Well, I think no surprise here, but for sure I'm gonna stick with my guy and predict not much of a prediction, but predict that Mick will defend his title.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know.
I'm kidding.
Boring old coach here, but yeah, I gotta go with Mick on the guy's side. I think, it was good to hear kind of Bobby's take on Cooper. I was really impressed with Cooper at the games, and I'm going to kind of pick him as a dark horse for finishing in the top 3 in the World Cup Grand Prix here. I think, if he can kind of build on what he was doing the last couple of years, which is kind of sounds like maybe he has this off season.
Yeah, he's been really
he's a young guy and a little more confidence. I think if you can find that, get a taste for winning and stay confident, I think he could have a pretty good year here. And maybe for a third pick on the guy's side, I'm going to go with Nick. I'm going to go with Nick Page. Despite the fact that maybe he didn't have the best training in Ruka so far, I think. I know Josh, my son, Josh, coaching for the U.S. team, has been talking Nick up quite a bit. He's always excited to talk about what those guys have been doing at the camps throughout the off season. So kind of take his word for it to a certain extent and keep Nick Page in there.
Okay, I like it. Bryan, do you want to go give your male picks?
Sure. I think this weekend, I'll start there. We're gonna have Walter win.
Okay.
Come out with a bang.
Ooh.
With Mick closely in second. Come be a nail biter. And then I'm gonna go with Mr. Matt in third.
Matt Graham. Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of the overall, that's where it gets interesting. That's where I think there's going to be more parity this year. I know Nick had some success last year. It's good to hear that Josh is talking him up. Then you have another person that gets talked up by the Australian Mogul coach is Jackson Harvey, as well as Cooper. Then you still got the old dogs of Ben, Matt, Walter, Mick. So I'm going to go the boring route and think Mick's going to win, but it's going to be close this year. It's going to be close. It's going to be closer. Mick 1, Walter 2, and I think last year he finished off the box or was close for a lot of them. I think Ben's going to have a strong year and finish third.
Okay.
So Mick 1, nice. Walter 2, Ben 3.
Gotcha.
But
yeah,
it's going to be a shootout. I think I think Mick and Walter will go pretty consistent, and then that third spot on the box for the Grand Prix, I think, is going to be kind of a up for grabs for sure.
Yeah, and I can't remember who I might have been talking about this with Pete or who else I was talking to him, but I just think it's so I find it so interesting in just how you have kind of that top layer of guys, and I was kind of equating it to like Federer and Nadal and Djokovic. How there was these years and years of this really strong young talent, but they could hardly ever break through because that older kind of guard just was able to just keep everybody at bay. And it kind of seems what's continued to happen. You know, you have Mick up there, you have Matt, you have Ben, Akuma. You kind of have these elder statesmen with Walter. Throw him in there of those like 4 or 5 guys that are just, you know, seems to make it really, really hard for people to be able to break through maybe one event here or there, but they really do just seem to keep the rest of the field at bay from being able to really get on the podium consistently. You know, it's pretty interesting to watch how they're just keeping everybody down.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about Akuma. I might have to change my
pick. Emerson is gonna. So this is for Ruka. He is going with. He has no on the women's side. He has Liz, and then he has. I guess we'll go because we can go men, so I'll stick with men. For on the men's side, he's got Mick winning, Walter, and then he's got Matt. So he's got close to your same there, Zemba. And then for overall, he's got Mick, Walter, and Matt. So he's got Mick, Walter, and Matt there. So pretty consistent. And then on the women's side, Emerson is going with Liz Lemley for the win. And then he's got the American sweep. So he's got Jalen in there, and then he has Olivia on the box. And then for the overall, he has Jalen, Jakara, and then he's got Tall on the. Oh no, that's his duels overall. Or no, that's the overall. Jalen, Jakara, Tall. So that's you guys picks for the ladies side, Ruka, and then overall.
Well, it's hard to separate Ruka out for me. That's hard to get my mind wrapped around just a one-off especially on the women's side. But I think overall, I hate to be the boring pick again, but I think probably especially with Perrine and Henri out for the year, I think Jakar is going to be pretty hard to beat. I think she's just, I feel bad. It makes it sound worse than it is. I've definitely kind of been guilty of calling her kind of performances stock. She gets that a lot, but she's at the same time so clutch that I think she's going to be tough to knock off that top spot. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's USA 2 and 3 on the women's side. I think definitely could be a pretty tight race. In there. I love Emerson's pick of Olivia. I'd like to pick her. I love that she pushes the DD on the air side, and I think she's kind of, I don't know, I think she's maybe kind of got a little bit of a raw deal here and there for some of her performances in recent years. That's part of why maybe I wouldn't pick her, just because, I don't know, just because she doesn't seem to carry the judges' favor maybe a little bit. But I think, I think to just the way she carries herself, I think Jalen, she's definitely, she's a gamer. I think
absolutely, yeah.
If she stays healthy, I think she's going to be up there. I'd probably pick her for second, and boy, for third's a lot tougher. But I'm going to go with Lemley. Go with Liz Lemley for third. I think for sure. I think Avital could be really close there too, Bobby.
Yeah, training well.
I think the other U.S. girls too, like they're all so strong. I think it's going to be a pretty tight race, kind of from maybe first to 10th, but kind of especially kind of second to 10th. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting tight race, and maybe falling away after that. But
I'm curious, how much, what do you think the weight is? Do you think there is just a little bit of weight in the season or whatever of having that good result here in Ruka? I mean, do you think that has any influence over kind of the judges for the rest of the season? If you have that one panel that comes in here and kind of is like, okay, this is kind of, do you think that maybe in the back of their head is kind of like, okay, they already have the result, and kind of sets maybe a little bit of the stage for the rest of the season, as they kind of, I don't want to say come up with an order in their head, but sometimes they seem to.
Yeah, it definitely can. I think there too, it's super subjective, but that's my opinion. I think it depends on the panels. It depends on how, who's in the panels and how strong they are, how confident they are in their opinions. I think we've definitely seen it where it can be a huge advantage. Like you're saying, if you have a good, strong result and you can kind of keep it rolling, it does set sort of an expectation. It does kind of create a prejudice in some of the judges. And I think we've seen that. And as much as, the judges would deny it, I think it does happen. I don't think it has to happen. I think it, depending on who the panels are, I think it's interesting. Like, it seems like with the remote judging now, with restricted access to the judges for feedback, they're more prone. I feel like they're going to be more prone for that kind of effect to happen, because there's going to be less of an avenue for a coach like yourself, Bobby, to say, like, to call them out, to kind of ask for some explanations, what their viewpoint is, why a certain score was given. It seems like it's tougher to get those kind of answers, and we've certainly seen it. Like, I'm for sure you could take it with a grain of salt from me, because, in both instances, the Canadian team, when I was coaching for Canada, we had good results at the Olympic Games. But going into both Sochi and into Korea, the judging panels, they worked together a lot. There was regular meetings between the coaches and the judges. And I think it was better in those, not just at the games themselves, but in the World Cups where those judges coached together. There was more regular kind of practice judging and evaluation of their own scores. Like those guys were meeting every night. The coach judge meetings were regular, and there was still a lot of bullshit being thrown around, no doubt about it. It was still far from perfect,
Right.
but it was so much more reliable. Like you could kind of get a feel for what the judges wanted or how they saw things, even if you didn't totally agree with it. It was more reliable, it was more predictable. And it's not fair for me to say, like I say, I'm out of the game now. I'm watching, looking in from the outside, but that's what I feel. It just doesn't seem like there's, we're everyone's operating in silos. There's the sport, and then there's the judges, and they're in totally separate silos. And how do you know, like if I were in your shoes, I would be desperately searching for ways to kind of get a sense for how my athletes are going to be scored, and what can we do about that? How can we try to get a fair shake? And if we think we're being kind of slighted or overlooked, underscored, as the case may be, over the years, recent years with the axis, how they judge axis on corks and on folds and double folds, and like it just, you get a little bit of a sway. And I in Ruka first, it's always a little bit, it's the first one of the year, and the judges, it's always, you see some weird stuff. And I can remember kids like just doing the most, even within my team, like not pointing fingers, even within my team. I can remember, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but love coaching the guy, but just this horrendous back pull, like just like not quite cat out of the window, but just horrendous back pull.
Yeah.
But his feet are right over his head when he's upside down. So his axis is perfect. And he got a higher score than Mick's back full. Mick still won the event that year, I'm pretty sure. But his air scores were like, Mick got like a 7.2 or something for a pretty good, okay, maybe his axis is, whatever.
Right.
But it's like tight, it's straight, it's pinned on landing, classic kind of Mick back full. And he gets like a 7.2. And this other kid on the team, he got like an 8.5 or something. He's loose and, arms are bent, but he's straight. His feet are right over his head. So,
right over the top.
For a couple of years there, some of the judges that didn't know any better, that's all they judged. That's all they judged on the back full. It's like axis and nothing else. Like forget about form. And that's where it's nice to have some aerialists on the, more aerialists that became judges on the Mogul panel. And we, every once in a while we'll have a judge like that. And you just, if you get the opportunity to go talk to them, you just get, really higher quality, insightful answers on how they see things, how they see it, how they got to their score.
Right. Which is super important. I mean, it's critical to know kind of what they're looking for.
I'm always kind of crapping on the judges, and I apologize to my judging friends. I do, like, there's a lot of, there are several good judges. There's several American judges that I have a ton of respect for. We have several Canadian judges that I have a ton of respect for, but there's a lot of judges, even at a World Cup level, that really don't know what they're looking at, not nearly to the degree that the teams and the athletes deserve. And I don't know how to address that problem. That's me on my soapbox again about the judges. But it is, man, it's, if you want to turn any parent off the sport who's got kids in the sport, you just let them volunteer in a judging stand somewhere at some regional event and listen to the chit chat that you hear at the major majority of those events with those kind of panels. And there's a good chance they're going to pull their kid from this sport. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough ask, tough job. That's for sure. That's for sure. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out there. But Zemba, did you get your overalls in did you get the female side in?
No, on the lady side.
Lady side.
I feel like early in the conversation we talked about a little bit more parity on the men's side. But there has been, I feel there has been a little bit more parity for a while on the women's side. You still have the top dogs, but on any given day, I feel like particularly on the U.S. women's team, any one of those girls can kind of step up and own the day. So it's tough picking any one particular one of them to have success. But in terms of Ruka, also talked about we go with consistency. So I'm going to go with Jalen with the win. With I think while the DD might be there for Jakara, I think she'll get it on speed and take the win to start the year. Jakara 2, Lemley 3. But then it's just a constant toss-up between all of them, really, because all of them have had great days. And then just looking back on some of the results last year, you look at, not to name names, but you look at Henri's on the podium, and then 23rd in France. And that could be like any one of those girls. Like,
Right.
It could be anyone. It could be any one of the guys. It's part of the sport. So the overall is tough to pick. You got Avatar with 2 bronze medals from last year. You have Gherkin Schofield had some good results last year. You have obviously Olivia. You have all those girls. Who's the other one I'm thinking of that was top 10 in the world? The other Japanese girl.
Reno.
Not Henri.
Reno.
Yep. Like, oofta. I don't even want to begin to sliver that one in terms of statistics and who I might think will end up on that box. But I'll go with the singles and duels are separate overalls, right?
They are separate. Yep.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That changes things a little bit. Go with Jakara 1. Jalen 2. And my bias wants to say Avatar 3. But I will go with Lemley 3. And then top 5. Let's go out to 5.
Going out to 5.
Avatar will be in the top 5. Somewhere in the top 5 will be Avatar. Somewhere in the top 5 will be Olivia. And then filter in the rest with the Renos and then Gherkin Schofields and then Schwinghammers and then, go on from there. But let's go. Excited. Let's do it.
Yeah. It should
Get
be very exciting. Looking forward to it.
Let's all do these picks and look like idiots. Let's do
it. Well, thank you guys for taking the time. I know we got a bunch of different time zones, so I'm glad we were able to make it work. But we'll have to reconvene after the new year and kind of do this again.
You can't do picks.
I got stakes in the game. I can't do picks on both sides. I got stakes from all different angles. I can't be laying out picks here. I'm like doing commentary on the game. I can't be the guy picking a side. So,
dude, Michael K does a radio show. He still does picks. Come on.
No. I will refrain, and we can reconvene after the new year. And Rob, I'll see you up in Apex around the new year. So looking forward to that. That's gonna be a lot of fun. So we'll be up there getting some training in. So I know Matt's really excited to check out Apex. He's never skied there in all his years. He's never been to Apex before.
Is that
so
right,
that'll be one to check off the list for him. He doesn't have to introduce him to the fun barrel.
Yeah.
Buckle up.
Trouble. Have to keep him out of there.
Yeah, have to keep him out of there. But thank you guys so much for doing this. Really appreciate it, and look forward to reconvening to see how the tour is shaking out.
Thank you, Bobby.
Sounds good.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby.
Thank you guys. Emerson, thanks for your picks too. And thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate it. Bye.
C'est sur YouTube à vie. All right, perfect. We're rolling. Thank you guys so much for coming in. This is by far the biggest Mogul podcast we've ever done. That's for sure. So thank you guys for taking the time out to talk some shop and hear about what's been going on all summer.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Bob. You're gonna have to write in a lot of different names. So.
Stay your name.
Present.
Yeah. Tell us something.
I guess I'll start off. For I would say Team Austria in Australia. It's been a pretty good summer. We spent a bunch of time training down in Brisbane, then to Perisher. Not much snow in Perisher. That was a bit of a long slog in Jindabyne when you're not used to it. Those guys are really used to.
Yeah.
It's just like the normal routine.
Mm.
It was for the stateside people. It was definitely took a little adjusting, but the worst part is the ski tube. I feel like
For sure.
that is a long chunk of the day each way up, up and down. But
The weather's pretty shitty.
And it's pronounced ski tube.
thank you for choosing ski tube.
Ski tube, mate.
But actually the training was pretty good when it wasn't raining. It was pretty good.
And you are not allowed to ski during the weekend?
Just Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And you
were there
actually-
crazy queues?
It actually was not too bad this year, because of some of the lack of snow. So usually there's a run that kind of feeds down to that quad chair and you have nowhere else to go. And because of lack of snow, that run wasn't really open. So it's actually like no lines whatsoever. And then it became, we kind of were able to train on Saturdays because some of that lack of snow. But it's kind of a little bit of a different setup to Tapa's Dream this year, just for that, because of that lack of snow. So it was only like 6 bumps probably, and then like the top air, not the usual like 22 or whatever. So it definitely felt it was still like 240, but it definitely still felt like a normal course. But
Yeah,
just
more
I feel like that would make that course better.
no, it was actually, it was actually pretty sweet to get a little bit more realistic, I would say, kind of top section training and everything. So there was definitely some good things that hopefully in the next few years we'll be able to use and implement if there is that lack of snow again in the next few seasons. But overall, it was still made it happen. Another year on Tapa's Dream. Kate Blamey really totally crushed it. She did like a shit ton of coursework and really made that thing happen. Because I was definitely a fish out of water, having don't know the drill, like building the course down there. So I'm like, all right, I'm happy to take a shovel and figure out what we need to do. But Kate really did a great job with that.
Was it just one course build with the cat?
Just one course build with Kat. So Tapa and then Kate came in and really did a great job. And so it was great training for everybody that was made the trek down there. Event went off great without a hitch. So it was great down there. And then made our way here to Idre, the new course. Team Austria is loving the new course. It's sweet. It's crazy going up the lift and seeing how fucking flat the old course was. It's like, I can't believe that, when there's no snow on it, it's actually like steeper, and you're like, damn, dude, we're doing World Cups on that for like 4 years. How long? It's crazy.
Yeah.
This new course is way better.
So much better. I didn't expect it to be this good. Because last year we saw that pitch next to it, and I was like, it looks a bit steeper, but it doesn't look that much steeper. But in fact, it makes a really good course. And I think we got 240 meters, because at one point they were saying that it was going to be shorter, but actually 240 meters. So
it's money.
Pretty good, yeah.
The old course wasn't a good. I mean, it was a joke.
Yeah.
So, and this place is sick. So I'm stoked that they've got a good course on there.
No,
we're this housing we got here, the food, the setup, Sweden is dope. Love coming here, but the course was a bummer last year.
Yeah. So you're saying about the ski tube in Australia?
Yeah.
This place is so easy. You just drive 5 minutes. You're skiing. You can do 2 sessions per day.
Yeah.
So much different to Zermatt back in the day, having to go up,
Which is the worst.
Yeah, 2 hours
Out of
up.
all the places we've been, that's the worst.
Come
on,
tram rides,
right?
With the biggest alpine backpacks you've ever seen in your life, and then you'd have to wait even for that third tram.
Those kids are the worst humans in the world. They're so mean.
They're mean little kids.
The little alpine kids with the backpacks twice their size. They knew you couldn't yell at them too because they're children. And they took advantage of it.
Unless you were
Meanwhile,
also
their
like
parents
younger
are-
and you didn't care. It's like, I don't care about
Yeah.
you. So one of the questions I had for all you guys is what would you equate the course to? It's one of the arguments, or not arguments, but just like kind of talking with Avital about like what she feels the course is kind of like,
what it compares
what
to,
it compares
what it looks
to.
like,
And
yeah.
she was like, well, I think the top section is kind of like Tremblant. I was like, I'm not so sure, but okay. And then she thought like bottom air going in was kind of like Domalenko, where like those last 2 or 3 turns, if you really have to be on it, because if you're not, you're kind of get spit out. Like in it's
to me, it seems like a Ruka without the elements.
I agree.
Of like the gnarly like grit cliff, the wind up top.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like when you're there, you're just like
What's the average degree? It's 27.
27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to like Ruka
Mhm.
for the middle section.
but it's not as like, I don't know, something about Ruka, maybe it's the lights or the conditions there, it's like gnarly.
Yeah, I get it with the wind.
I think it's the
exposed
wind.
to the elements.
It's super exposed,
Yeah.
elemental, dude.
The only thing I feel like here could be the fog, because we definitely had a couple days where it was a little bit. You don't really get it too much fog in Ruka, do you?
No, unless the snow guns are
Yeah.
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 Has a little bit of a Calgary vibe to it. Kind of when you're standing at the bottom and you're looking just kind of carved out in canyon type style.
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
with the long jump, and then standing at the top reminds me a little bit of that 2018 Olympic course, just like consistent pitch. You could see all the way down. You could see everything right in front of you before you drop in.
Yeah.
It's not as big of moguls.
Not as
Biggest
big as
moguls ever.
pure
Yeah.
moguls. I remember the first day everyone showed up there. What the hell are these things?
We've
And then everyone ripped it.
Yeah.
many moguls.
Yeah, I get Valsenko vibes.
Mm.
The middle section.
Yeah.
And they
That's
ties
good
down
call.
into
And then a
the
little bit
bottom
of a
there.
roll and then
Yeah.
drop to the bottom there.
Which is also a dope course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
the
looking at
finish
the
one is
looking at the
terrifying.
calendar this year, just we have really good courses.
Yeah, Ruka,
Rogue's gonna be awesome.
Idru,
Yeah.
Albert Bedouet.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Instant classic.
But training is good. It's good. So yeah.
What about Waterville, USA?
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Bobby's
That's the
wrong.
unknown.
Nah, Waterville.
Waterville.
No, that's a good course. They've held nationals there a couple times.
The last nationals they had was a World Cup course. Like
Yeah.
I remember rolling up to that
Yep.
course and be like, dude, they could have a World Cup here. They did a really, really good job with that build.
Yeah.
Yep, so it's on the same venue. Should be good. I know they've been hyping it up a lot throughout, starting last year and then even through the summer, like throughout New England. They've been spreading the word that there's a World
There's gonna be a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be
Probably.
Hopefully,
East
yeah.
Coast, East Coast.
I
loves
know.
Big East
those.
Coast
It's
contingent.
like a Stratton Alpine Women World Cup, kind of.
Like
Oh,
you'll get a
the-
lot of people.
Where Schifrin is very popular, you know?
Yeah, that's at Killington. Yeah.
Okay, Killington.
Yep, you'll get a lot of Killington folk.
Okay.
We like to joke that Killington's the only place in the world
In
where
what state
skiing
is
is still cool.
Okay.
So you'll have a lot of weekend warriors coming over and
Oh, yeah.
watching. Yeah,
Is Gilson where you have that big natural
Yeah.
bump slope?
outer limits. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it should be. I know a lot of people that are. heading
And that's
over
close
there,
to Waterville.
so. Yeah, it's about 2 hours away, but Waterville's really close to Boston, so you're gonna get a lot of. It's gonna be a good East Coast showing.
Yeah.
I'd say it's pretty similar to this course. A little steeper out of top, but it flattens out.
Yeah, you
Instead
can
of
see
get
all
steeper.
the course from the top. You can see.
No, well, it depends on how they build. If
Okay.
they build the top section high enough, it's kind of one of those where it's like all you see is the top jump,
Okay.
and it's steep, and then it flattens. It
Okay.
gets flat, like
Yeah.
like Tazawako, but not as flat.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When are we going to see Japan back on the calendar?
Next year.
Not soon
Hopefully
enough.
soon. Yeah.
Hopefully next year. Yeah, that was a little bit of a bummer. It's definitely a hot and heavy start to the season.
Yeah, for sure.
Ready to rock and roll.
Because have you guys seen the rule that you might lose one quota spot if you don't have a home World Cup?
Oh,
So
okay.
That'd be sweet.
you have 5 World Cup quota spots, but if you have a home World Cup, then it goes to 6.
So Georgia's set then.
So Georgia's
They're okay.
They-
They don't need the quota spot.
6 women, 6 men.
That's crazy. I like that though.
So it gives extra incentive to organize a World Cup.
You guys are gonna be traveling everywhere.
But this year, 16 World Cups, and we have like 2 or 3 weeks off at Christmas and almost the whole of February off.
Yeah,
So it's-
but
it's-
you're not getting home until Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas Day.
You know, like you get home on Christmas Day this year, which is crazy.
Mhm.
Like remember there being 3, or even was it 2 World Cups? There was 2 World Cups before Christmas, and it was like, okay, that was a lot.
Yeah.
And
Well,
now
yes,
you guys
most
have-
years we'd have 1.
Yeah, and now you have 4 stops,
4 stops. Yeah,
4 different locations, which is
Yeah.
going to be a trek
Gonna
for
be
you.
grand, yeah.
And then a big break, it seems like, kind of.
Yeah, huge breaks during the season,
Yeah.
which is good. You know, you can train, rest. Do what you gotta
Would
do.
you prefer that? Like, I guess, would you prefer the break, or would you prefer like going to Japan, going to Calgary, going to China, going to like?
I'd say the more races, the better. You know, we spend so much time training in the summer that we want to have as many competitions as possible.
3 weeks of break is a lot.
It's
It's
a
a
lot.
lot of February. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing is, I'm curious, like with the organizers or however that goes, like, I mean, if you're Bakariani or you're one of those, like, and you see how the calendar's set up, would you not just be like, hey, and I'm curious if this is like a FIS thing where do you ask them, like, we have like all of this jammed in, we got 4 different starts before Christmas, would you mind like February? How
Yeah.
does Bakariani sound in February?
And try and
But I'm
couple it
curious
up with Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
at least it's
Yeah, link that
Kind of,
up would be
yeah.
closer.
but I'm curious if that's like the question where they even like go out and ask, or if they're just like, oh, we got a spot, yeah, whatever weekend is like great, like there's no, because it
It
seems
seems insane to go to
arbitrary, especially on like the athlete. If you want to have a good show, you want to put in like, it's crazy to think that they jammed in another event like right before Christmas.
Yeah, because for the teams, for the athletes, there doesn't seem to be any positives. You know, it's
Yeah.
just before Christmas. Flights are much more expensive. It's lots of traveling for just one event instead of making it a tour with Kazakhstan. So
Right. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer where you do
Yeah, no,
Bakariani and then Kazakhstan. You're kind of already over there, but
Well, Jalen's pretty pissed about it. Being Christmas scout.
I think there's a lot of people like Christmas. I like Christmas.
Mhm.
I'd like to be, I think we get back Christmas Eve, which is,
I'll be home.
Yeah.
You'll be fun, guys.
yeah.
You think? It's a good
Yeah,
time to
exactly.
get bumped from a flight.
But you know what? There is some meeting before the season.
Mhm.
There is one meeting 2 weeks ago in Zurich. All our boss, for French Federation, US, Canada were there. At this point, you can have some discussion about to say, I disagree about to have this race at the end of December. What do you think? I think it's if all the bosses of every federation said, I think it's a bad idea. We can have an agreement, but my boss report to me. Only French Federation said I disagree with Bakariani World Cup. So
Just
Yeah.
the timing of it.
Yeah, it's
And Bakariani, do you know if there was any like this is it? This is all we can do.
Yeah. Kind of, because they were like it's the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
so they were happy to have the World Cup to open the ski resort. Like Ruka, they want to have the first World Cup of the season.
Yeah.
Also. So yeah.
Yeah, because last year in December, Bakariani didn't have an inch of snow as well.
Right.
Yeah.
They had
So there's that
absolutely
to take into consideration also.
Right.
So it's crazy. We're doing lots of World Cups beginning of the season where some resorts can struggle to have snow.
Yeah.
And then in February, where normally resorts will have the most snow of the season, we don't have as many events planned.
And some guys have news of snow condition in Bakariani or
No, I don't know.
because in France we don't know also, but always at Bedouet it's 1 week before it's okay, but 1.5 week before it's not okay. So it's always it's critical. Yeah.
Last minute.
Last minute, yeah.
I'm sure they'll be able to pull it off though, right? Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like an athlete and also as a coach, you want to go out and as Ben said, spend so much time training and putting all the all that work. Like
even though it sucks to have an event like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, you'd rather have
It's
it.
way better than like, we're gonna train for
Yeah.
another.
Yeah.
You know.
It's still better than one hooker and then you wait
Yeah.
beginning of January.
Yeah.
Still better. But
With that rule you were talking about with losing it.
Prime spots,
Yeah, that'd be. I mean, yeah, Italy back in the game. It'd be nice to go back to Madonna and like
yeah.
get some more of those places we grew up watching. We talked a little bit about ski buses when we were before the podcast, but
Yeah.
growing up watching some of those competitions, it'd be cool to go back to some of those places.
And we're sure.
Oh, good sick.
from the highway, when we go to Valmarenco from France,
Mhm.
Mogul, we go in the Tunnel du Mont Blanc,
Mhm.
and then we are in Italy, and we can see from the highway the course of Salzburg's 2006 Olympic Games.
Yep.
And but they took away the lighting, but like I don't know, like maybe 10 years ago, there's still lightings going down on the coast, so you can see from the highway the coast.
Yeah.
As you said, we can have a lot more courses that we can go on that they are really epic.
Mm.
And then,
But it's crazy to think in the history of mogul skiing, all the Olympic venues, the only one that we go back to is Deer Valley.
Yeah,
It's
crazy.
It's crazy. Apart from that, we've never been back to one, Olympic venue.
And
Team,
they're all
yeah.
sick.
Yeah,
Like, especially
they've
these
always
last,
been amazing,
yeah,
isn't it?
last 3-4 cycles.
I've always thought they should do a throwback tour
Mm.
where one season you go to every Olympic venue.
That'd be sick.
See who wins them.
That'd be so sick.
Yeah.
That'd be the ultimate love right there.
Well, I know the biggest, or one of the biggest issues, which in this day and age, it seems like it shouldn't be that hard, but apparently, is the prize money and being able to have that for multiple events. So that's a big issue for having sponsors to be able to pay out, was it 60,000, and that, which doesn't seem like that large of a number in this day and age, but apparently that's a big issue of why you don't have more events in more locations and everything else. Because it would be sweet to just do
The $60,000 number is a prize money thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of a cost that goes into that.
right.
For everything else, it's a big check. If it was just a prize money thing, it wouldn't be an issue, I don't think at all. But there's a lot of other like lodging and
Yeah, lodging's a big one.
lodging's a big one.
Yeah.
even in Mogul 2022, the last World Cup, the organizer still have debt from this event.
Do you know if they're what the number is?
No, I don't know. I
The
can't
debt
say it, but
is 50 grand.
Okay.
Doesn't Deer Valley
Which-
like take a hit every year when they do it?
Yeah, I mean that's a big. They put on a big event.
Yeah.
They make it a show, and
It's good for the community. Like
they're not making
no.
money on that at all, right?
Because in France it's organized by the ski club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money from the. It's not a private event. It's a state event. I not say, but
Yeah.
it's money from a French society. It's not private money.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, the Waterville thing is a cool thing that that's happening because I don't know where the money's coming from. I don't know how they're getting it to happen, but they figured out a way to make it happen. Right.
But
it kind of snuck up. Like there was a lot of talks of Steamboat making
Steamboat,
it
yeah.
on, and then like course change and boom, back on the east.
Which I think is good for our sport.
Yeah, at least there's east and west.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people back east watch that Deer Valley World Cup and say, "Oh man, like, bummer, be sweet to take in that." And they had that opportunity back in the day going to Lake Placid, which always did a good job. The weather was always questionable, and the course was always a little tough. But I mean, people came up.
I don't know, man.
watched,
That junior nationals at Waterville when it rained and froze. I mean, it's same, dude.
And chopped the entire
It's
course.
so
That was pretty
gnarly.
sweet.
Everybody got in a line and started in the finish area and chopped the entire course because there was a half inch
like
of rain,
crust.
frozen rain
But
on everything. Like the ski lifts, the rope line, like that you could see the bamboo. The bamboo was like 3 inches thick because it had a half inch of rain on it. It was insane.
we were in the Northern there one year. And they canceled
I don't-
training because of that reason. Kind of the same thing.
in Waterville.
No, at Lake Placid.
Um,
They canceled a day of training. Kind of the
Yeah.
same thing.
Well, I think after the last World Cup we had in Lake Placid, the resort was closed 3 days later because it was like -14.
Yeah, it's too cold.
Celsius.
Hell yeah.
So it's closed on that.
well, so that's East Coast. skiing,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's
Did you see this guy with a green helmet here?
Oh yeah,
T-shirt.
yeah. He's on our team.
yeah.
He's one of my athletes.
Yeah.
He's from Waterville or East Coast or?
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah. Because he's like, oh, it's a pleasant day out today. No need for a jacket.
You want my jacket? So
Yeah.
hot here.
I try to even.
I have all of my layers on.
Yeah.
I'm freezing.
It's
Hand
like
warmers.
yeah, also without
Yeah, he
how
does
to say it? Earrings or no, it's
Yeah, ear pads.
Ear pads.
Ear
Yeah,
pads.
no ear pads. Yeah, that's
he was in T-shirt when he was.
Jack Patron from KMS.
Okay. Back with trying to get a mention on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, that's now Wasatch Freestyle. Give that a plug.
He's from KMS, but yeah.
Okay.
You don't see Wasatch kids doing that. We're,
Yeah.
we're wearing our jackets, right?
Hand
He's got that
warmers.
East Coast blood in him, at least for a little bit. Like he's got to hang out with us for a little while to soften him up.
Yeah, I'll lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll get a coach's coat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll soften him up.
E-Dog and I, you can't see her. Any
You guys
extremities
softened
out
up
there.
pretty quick when you came to the West.
Oh yeah. First thing I did.
Took 11 years, but we all end up back there.
Okay, coaches.
Soften up.
So I guess for you guys, as we're chatting here about the schedule so far, where would you say, at least the last few years, has been favorite stop, other than probably Deer Valley?
Yeah, it's about as a classic.
Just like Altitudes.
Outdo as instant classic. We've been lucky because the weather has just been amazing for us to do stops last 2 years. But obviously it's nice to compete in France.
Mhm.
It's always added motivation to compete in front of friends and family. I think last year we were pretty lucky with snow conditions at pretty much every single event. We had fresh snow in Valsaco, which is a very rare.
Yeah.
We might not get as lucky this year.
The night event. That
Yeah,
night
night
event was
event
really
was
cool.
pretty
Yeah.
So I'd say last year it pretty much was only sick events. Kazakhstan was better on a new course.
Okay.
I'd say maybe-
Did you like the new spot? Yeah.
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 Bottom everything was awesome apart from bottom landing. Bottom landing was pretty flat.
Gotcha.
Apart from that, it was really good. Yeah.
I thought it was much better than the old Kazakhstan course.
Yeah.
And you're below the fog too, right?
You're above the fog.
Yeah.
It's higher up.
It's higher.
It's higher up. Yeah.
I thought it was lower.
It's just because they created this mid station
Oh,
with,
yeah, I
with
heard.
snow, right?
Yeah.
And,
super ghetto.
But it wasn't a real mid station. So when there was lots of people on the lift, the chairs were lower down than when no one was on it, right? So we'd be at this mid station created by just this shit ton of snow that they pushed with a cat. And so early in the morning when no one was on the chairlift, you'd literally have to jump as high as possible to get on the chair, right? So a few times you wouldn't jump high enough and the thing would just smack you in the middle of the back because you hadn't got onto the chair. And then other time it was really busy, and so the chair would literally be scraping through the snow. It was the sketchiest thing ever.
That's sick.
Only in Kazakhstan you would see something
Yeah.
like that.
That's what I love about Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Everything's like jerry rigged together.
Yeah.
In that town, you just see all this you see a horse cart going down the highway
Yeah.
next to this car that's like held together with duct tape next to this Mercedes that's $100,000 and everybody just vibing together.
It sounds a lot like Maine.
And 1 year is so sketchy. So this guy injured himself, so he got stretchered off. Right, and so the stretcher was gone, but training went on. And then another guy gets injured, but the stretcher's gone. So the ski patrol just comes down, throws him over his shoulder.
No way.
Except the guy, it turned out he had a broken pelvis or hip or something crazy like this over the shoulder of the ski patrol. And the guy just skiing down. Oh my god! And we still go to some crazy places.
On that Bondurant, we did the double backflip in Intro. You remember 2 or 3 years ago?
He was the one who got hurt.
Yeah, it was in Kazakhstan like 2000.
Oh, it was at the event.
It was 2020.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, or 20 or 19. Well, we saw the skipper lift him.
Over his shoulder.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He had a broken pelvis.
Even Max Willis,
Yeah.
who broke his knee, he
Yeah.
knew that ski patrol was fucked up. He
Just
did
got it.
everything to stand up and go on him
On his own, yeah.
on his arm at the bottom of the course, and
Yeah.
because
I mean that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I had one issue like that in Chile. We were training in gnarly crash. And I started to, I mean, I just like hit my back really bad and just started coughing blood, and I could like feel all the blood in my lungs. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't rely on the ski patrol. I gotta get my ass out of here. So my brother took me onto the T-bar, and we just got down to the clinic as soon as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And like in the clinic, like spitting and coughing blood. And I was like, I'm way better, more likely to get to that clinic on my own than in one of those sleds when you get to a place like that just can't handle it.
yeah,
I think I remember. Was that Chile?
Yeah. I don't know what year, maybe 2000.
I remember that was the year that I don't know if you remember Lindsay Bowering on like the last run of the day just totally like erupted her collarbone and just one of the gnarliest like
so
bottom section girl, no attempts to even ski, just landed the bottom air, flailing just to tomahawk like, and it was almost as firm as the bottom section here. I mean, it was firm, and she just it was gnarly. Yeah, it was gnarly. Yeah. Because I remember that you were you had a rough one there.
That's a pretty funny story. Is it podcast worthy?
Sure.
All right. So I get to the clinic and like the blood stops and my lungs okay. We do a chest x-ray, but there's a spot in my back right on my spine that just swells up into like a half a softball. And they see on the x-ray that I have a broken back. So they call an ambulance and they bring me down to Santiago. And in the ambulance, I'm like, I have to pee so bad. Like I'm okay, I feel fine. My back definitely hurts, but like I feel okay. And I keep asking the ambulance if we can pull over because I just really have to pee, but I'm like strapped into this backboard. And we don't stop, and I finally get to the airport and I'm like, hey man, like, because I had a PT with me, and he spoke Spanish, and I was like, I have to pee so bad, but do not make them put a catheter in me, right? You guys know what a catheter is? Yeah, I don't want any of that. And they give me this thing called a duck, which is, it looks like a duck but with the beak cut off, and it's got the hole in it, and you put your penis in it. you just turn over and you just pee, right? And it's like, oh my God, I finally was able to take a leak. Meanwhile, I'm waiting in this hospital for a while until somebody comes in. It's a neurologist, and I'm in a gown, and it's a crazy thing, dude. It was just like a really weird experience. The guy doesn't speak very good English. He has a feather. He comes in with a feather, and that's it. And he like starts like touching me in the face with the feather, and like he's like, you feel this, and I'm like, yeah, I feel that. And he's like under the arm, and then like it's like, okay, like pull your knees up, like I'm in like the birthing position, right? Like I'm giving birth. And he like pulls up my gown and is like touching like my hamstrings, feel that, and then he like pulls my balls up and like like you feel that on my taint, like, and I'm like, yeah, I feel it. And he's like, okay, so the guy said that you had an erection the entire drive down to the hospital. And I'm like, what? No, dude. What are you talking about? And something in translation got lost, like where I was telling the guy, I was asking the guy in the ambulance, like, pull over, I have to pee. And somehow the neurologist got the idea that I had a boner. The whole 30 or like an hour drive from the hospital. Like, no, dude, I'm good. It's like, just take it. I feel everything. We're Gucci. I had to pee. That's it. That was a wild experience. I spent the night in the hospital, and then they found out that it was an old injury. I broke my back from filming for a Warren Miller movie. Like, I remember I lost feeling in my legs, but I was just like, I was 16, so I was just like, whatever, chalk it up. You know, the feeling came back in my legs after like 45 minutes. But this thing, just something happened where it like pinched something back there and just got really swollen. But 2 days later, I just flew home. Yeah. Wild story though, man.
Definitely podcast with it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Definitely podcast with it.
You're tickled by a feather.
Tickled by a feather. Yeah, when that neurologist walks in with a feather, be warned. He's gonna go.
What do you? I'm fine. I have feeling everywhere. No erection. I just had pee. Put feather away.
One thing that I want to talk about and want to have your guys' opinion on is what you think about video judging.
A fan of video judging.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think it's more inclusive to get more judges in the sport, but I don't think it gives as accurate of a depiction of the runs. Or I think they can be too hypercritical. Seeing some of the video, like the look they get on top air is so close. Like if you gave us a little smile in the back fold, we could see it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, too much. I think scores have to go up. Like we have 100-point scale. They should be using them, and I think video judging brings those scores down more and more.
What I've noticed in the difference from video judging and people in person, and it could just be a theory and total bullshit, but those runs where it's like, you know, exciting and deserves to be high scored, and this is kind of something that we've gone away from in Mogul scene a little bit, but those runs where it's like, holy shit, like he hung on and it honestly looked pretty good. He made it look really clean. Those standout runs don't get scored as well when they're on video than when they're there watching, being a part of the, you know, the whole vibe and atmosphere there.
Small but little mistake. You can see like little open when you ski, little open legs or kind of thing maybe.
Something like that they see on the video, but in
we can see
real life, it's like, whoa, dude, like he just did something that not many people did. She did something that not many people did, and it usually gets a better score, I would say. When I think it's deserving too. I think that should be scored higher. More of an impression score.
The impression stuff, you know, I think it's a hard issue because I think for judges, especially our sport, needs more extremely like competent judges, and hopefully that would be a way to try to keep them in the sport. And if you have some of these people that have a really good idea of what they're looking for and to actually know, because I think it's one of the biggest issues in our sport is actually having like talent retention, whether it be in coaching or athletes going into judging or coaching or anything else. Like a lot of the judges that you see online or you see on the judging sheet, like they really don't have too much, at least from what I've seen, of like a real big freestyle background, especially the newer judges getting into it and everything else. And while they learn a lot in the judging clinics, I'm sure it's just not the same from actually like being in the sport, knowing what it's like going through an icy transition at Zermatt or here is like completely different to, and then especially when you see it on a video screen from your house, like, oh yeah, no, it really takes away, I feel like, some of the steepness and some of like, you know, the camera never, it's like every picture you take on your phone, it never does it justice, right? So it's really hard. It's a tough issue, but I think if it were to help in being able to have some retention of quality people that actually like know the sport or and really know what to look at, then I think it can potentially be a good thing. Otherwise, I think it's probably not great.
It's definitely a good thing from an organizer standpoint. I mean,
oh sure,
you save so much money on lodging, flights, you know, any sort of transportation for them, and that's huge. I mean, to hold an event like this Open at Snowbird, it was it was through video judging, and I mean, you'd have to house them at the Cliff Lodge, which is, you know, $200 plus $300 a night, and you get the event, right? And having that event is way more important than having judges there physically, in my opinion. So you have that counter argument, but how do you get it to the point where it's actually effective and there's not a noticeable difference between judges that are there and judges that are on video?
Maybe it could have a trickle down effect too from the World Cup level down to the regional level, where I mean you could have more events kind of throughout the US, or I don't know what it's like in France, but just like if more people, like you're saying, from an organizational standpoint, don't need to travel and they could devote a couple hours from home, and whether it be a World Cup event or regional event, just I think the more judges and the more accessibility, like in the end, is always better than not having an event.
I'm sure the judges want it too. Like they want to go, right?
Yeah.
They'd love to travel.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
I
They,
think
A lot
they
of us
want
get-
to,
a lot
but
of us get
sometimes
it.
it is.
Some judges just do it for the travel.
I
They
think
don't
we're
really
in a
know.
weird spot there with
It's
that
tough,
now.
though.
A lot of the judges that have been around, especially at like a NORAM level and stuff, that are, they've been doing it 20 plus years. They love that travel.
Right.
They love going to Apex. They love going to these places, and all of a sudden that's taken away. Then we're out that judge.
Yeah.
I don't
We
know.
get that young judge, but now we're in the position where we see the young judge who may not really know what they're doing that well. So we're in that weird
It's like
transition.
you're in a weird transition too, where that older judge is like, I've been there, done that, don't want to go, but I'll be able to help if I could do it from my home. Because I
Yeah.
think every single judge, that's not their 9 to 5. That's not their only job. Like it gets to a point where like the rubber meets the road and you can't travel, you can't
At a World Cup level,
be two
though,
places at once.
that's like a
Yeah, for sure.
thing.
But someone taught me that for the World Championship last year, they were all here, but even if they were there, they were judging by video.
Right.
Yeah, they were looking the screen because for them it's zooming the zoom. Yeah, it makes it more easier for them, and they rather like judging like this. But
Because most of their training is done on video.
I like
All their
that. I
training's
like
done
that
on
idea of
video.
having them there watching video.
Yeah,
I
if
will-
they go on the course and they know the course, as Bobby said, they can see the transition, the conditions, the fitness of the course.
And I think they have improved this, but the first time that they did video judging was maybe say in Deer Valley, right? And so it was just the TV camera doing the footage. So the guy would see an American athlete and he'd think, right, I'm going to get a good shot of this American athlete at his home World Cup. So he'd zoom in a lot. And then for other athletes, he'd be less zoomed in. So one guy would, you'd see every single mistake that they'd be so
Basically, there is some rules.
But now they have,
Oh.
systemized
Yeah,
it. So now it's
you have to see.
So that's why I got screwed.
I'm letting you know.
But they zoomed out on my back mute on bottom.
They didn't get the replay.
I think whether we like it or not, that's where it's headed. Like everything's headed that way,
Yeah.
technology wise.
Yeah, you gotta own it. You gotta figure out
Yeah.
a way to do it.
Mm.
Make it work.
Yeah,
It is more accessible for more people. and
exactly.
Getting these people to have that quota spot, right, where they don't really have the money to have the event, or that it's really hard for them to get the money to raise the event, like anything possible. And that being one of them as an expense is a plus.
Yeah.
Well, the funniest thing is that it is one of like our sport is one of the cheapest sports for it. You literally need a camera at the bottom. If you were trying to do like bare bones, you could literally do it right from the bottom, get it in. So the cost, like production wise, doesn't need to be that expensive if you're trying to do it bare bones, right? But at the same time, one of the things we've talked about before on the podcast, which I think would go a long way, is having an actual like side video for the judges of like transition, top air, bottom air, and then also like amplitude. I know we've talked about with what Troy Hunter, I think Rob Cobra as well, one of the times where just differences in like if you look at the X Games or some of those other sports, where to be able to see some of that, I think definitely
Yeah, but Mogul skiing, it's so much about first impression.
Yeah, exactly. I was
That's
gonna
true.
say
That's
that
true.
like
You
is
are-
that
That's fair.
Even for us,
Yeah.
amazing like Mogul skiing lover and very connoisseur. It's almost impossible sometimes to judge a Mogul World Cup good. You see, someone
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
check
no, that's fair,
E1
that's
or
fair.
E1 or so to make more more things for the judges that are not that good.
That's definitely true.
Makes more.
It also creates a militant style,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
mogul skiing, and that's not what it is.
But there is a very simple way of judging amplitude. They do it in trampolining.
Yeah.
So the 10 jumps that are required for a routine, they just time.
Right.
Time
Yeah,
it. And so, you know, the longer you spend it in the air, the better.
Right.
So literally that would be a very easy thing to do for mogul skiing.
They could put the height meter in. They did it in X game, do Mon breaking it every year.
Dude, Montana all going back and forth.
I honestly, I think they have to simplify judging
Yeah.
even more. Right now, we have all these different criterias that they judge on, but in my opinion, it's however many judges down there, just overall impression judging.
And it's so inconsistent. It's so inconsistent from spot to spot that we saw it major on the NORAM tour last year of just like, whoa, you guys loved this last stop. Now you love this. It just, the rules are, I know, meant to be in there for consistency, but the more rules create way more inconsistency than.
What can we do us apart speaking on this to make it evolve? But it feels like we spoke a lot on it from last years and right now. But what can we do to make it evolve and not only speaking with doing a podcast, you know, which is the most difficult, you know, to because we don't have even for us, we can't speak to judges, we can't speak we can't speak to
You talked earlier about like 2 weeks ago there was meetings like finalizing the schedule, but like with all the heads and whatnot, but like was there an athlete in the room? Like
no, maybe some as an accounting was maybe
be an athlete.
but is there like a current one in the room or like
Well, now the freestyle reps are both ski cross athletes.
Yes, so for us it's not good. Right?
We're complaining. We have to find some good solution for the future.
No, it's good pitching, man. I love
Yeah.
pitching.
maybe like what some of the key
Yeah,
players they
but
nominate?
no, it's difficult.
We
to
are
work
French,
with,
That's what we do.
That's for us.
Yes, that is
We can go on strike.
Well, I mean, to that, like, ultimately, how long do you think it is before like AI starts to play? I mean, a role, and it's just an AI judge sport. And, like, okay, throw it into an algorithm, and this is how they break it down. Because if you want to cost cut, no, I don't think so either. Hopefully not in that one. Yeah, hopefully not in my
because as a dumb or clear, it's we can hear this. We want to see big jumps, fast and clean skiings, and you saw big tricks. It's only this that we want to see. You know, so we have to make it clear that when skiers are going so fast, we can't see if it's pivot or carving. We can't see if it's a good takeoff or bad takeoff. It's a big tricks doing well and good landing. You see. So we have to make it clear that we want to see big runs and
Seems like they
it goes back to the overall impression. But yeah, you know, judging is obviously such a big part of our sport.
Sure.
You know, very important to me. I'd love to become a judge after my ski career. I think, you know, the judges are, you know, doing the best job possible at the moment. What makes it difficult is it's not their 9 to 5. In an ideal world, what I think is they would be training as much as we're training. You know, it'd be a full-time job, and they're training, you know, all summer long to know every, you know, single aspect of mogul skiing. What makes it difficult? Okay, they are paid for the days that they're there, but you know, the rest of the year is just up to them to take care of their training, etc. So it makes the job very difficult.
And we have maybe to have to stop with pivoting, carving, this kind of stuff because we I don't know, but sometimes I like a pivot run. I like a carving turn, as you said, but it's not like the sending of the run. No, you don't say that. Overall, the overall,
the overall
looking. And when a guy is doing is going fast and clean, it's a good run.
Totally.
Whatever his technique is.
I agree for sure.
So.
But one thing, this is one of my thoughts about judging, and it's a very specific way that you can change. I think that there should be more than 2 jump judges, because obviously in skiing, top score and lower score is knocked off.
Yeah.
But in judging, in jumping, the judges have lots of power because then mark is going to count whatever happens. And now with a coefficient for the DD for a cork 10 is 1 point. So whatever your mark is going to have a really big impact on the scores.
Yeah.
And also, I don't believe it's true that on paper it's 60% for turns, 20 for speed, and 20 for jumps. But it doesn't matter how, in a competition, it doesn't matter how many points you're scoring. What matters is the difference between you and the other person. And we'll often see nowadays in final and super final, you'll have 1 or 2 points difference in jump scores and speed scores, but you'll rarely have, 3-6 points between the top guys in ski scores. But if it was actually 60-20-20 for a 1 or 2 point difference in speed or jumps, it would mean that you'll have 6 points difference in the ski points.
Yeah.
So actually, it turns out to be more 30-30-30.
Yeah.
So to make the ski points count for 60%, the judges would have to make big differences. Yeah. That athlete ski well. I won't just point, because often between the top guys they're putting 0.4.
I think that's the tough thing when we went to the 100-point system.
Yeah.
Is the decimals. Like you have psychologically as a judge, that was good but not quite as good, so I'm going to give it a 6.8 instead of a 7, right? Like instead of like when it was out of 30, that decimal point made a big difference. But when a 100-point system goes in, it's like a point, like a full point, like a 6 and a 7 and a 5, and a 4 or 3, 2, 1, right? It could be separate and made it a bit easier for the judges to be like more discerning on whether that was better or worse, where it's like, it was a little better, but like I'll give it a 0.2 difference. That doesn't make much of a difference at all.
Yeah, it's the same as the 25 point, 30 points. Sorry.
Yeah, the 30-point system, when you have that
like
same
0.6 or 0.7 difference.
Yeah, and it's the same. They have that same idea, the same exact run goes down, and it's like, well, that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 0.2 less, but in a 30-point system, that was a big deal compared to 100-point system.
But you have to be, you have to go easy on the judges, because even if it is judged perfectly, the system is already a bit flawed, because who is capable of saying that jump was worth a 7.6 and not 7.4?
Totally.
And those 0.2 of a point can make the difference between the first place and the second place at the end of the day.
I think you are. That's where you're going to be a judge.
There you go.
You are fully capable. 7.4, 7.6.
Yeah.
And can I make an aparté? Emerson or Bryan or maybe Brad, you were not at all World Cups. Can you say like 3 runs from Rouen or 2, and even for guys that you like last year in the World Cup, like you said, oh, that was a good run.
From
the World Cup, yeah, from your point of view of what you remember of the World Cup. If there is good run that you can remember, like we have like a lot of classic from back in the days, but I think we have also classic from.
It's tough. It's tough when your job is watching mogul skiing.
Yeah.
Like the amount of runs that I've watched as a coach is, so much more than as an athlete. Right, as an athlete, then I could definitely tell you.
Okay.
But, as far as like really standing out, I couldn't, but Emerson probably could.
I think the standout run I saw in a World Cup last year, and it could have been because I watched it live, was Landon Wendler in Final 1 in Kazakhstan.
Okay.
Yeah, it was nice.
That was a run to me that, like, skiing wise, if you go through all the pieces of it, carving everything was pretty top tier.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think he went into 4th maybe?
Yeah.
Into the supers, which is like, that's judging, right? I would have put him higher, but I'm not a judge.
Yeah. Okay. And girl, Portugal, not have a run. Because girls right now, it's amazing. You can see like a lot of very good runs from girls. Like
they're
Big jumps. Women's sport is in
position
right now.
Yeah,
the speed is insane.
Yeah.
The speed difference from now.
Even jumps. right
And
now.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
And the DD, yeah.
Yeah. Some women are doing amazing cork 7s, cork 10s, it is great.
I'm probably biased in that. I think women's skiing, like I think Liz Lemley's turn is pretty top tier. I'd say Lulu Schaefer's turn is one of the better ones I've seen in the women's field.
But you do not remember one run that you said, okay, it was a run of the year or run of a decade, or no, you don't have one.
Yeah,
Lemley's
champs.
Liz is Jules.
Duels, yeah. Duels and Idra for Liz was out of out of this world.
She was
Because
top tier.
720 grab, good
Yeah.
skiing, big back cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, nice.
That was a standout performance.
Yeah.
So just one run, it was all night.
Yeah. I'd say that in the men's field too. Like if you look at duels, I think what Walter did to Kingsbury and Belcombe
Amazing.
was next level. Like, and I don't know if Walter realized what he did in that duel with his skiing,
Yeah.
but if he could realize what he did, it was so next level
Yeah.
that I don't know if he could really be beat.
No.
If he locked into that every event, it was incredible.
Matt sticks out for me at Deer Valley last year, like Matt Graham's run, and he won. And I think it goes back to like, wasn't really overall concerned of what the turn shape was, but just the excitement factor.
Yeah.
Like when someone is ripping it, going big, like it goes back to like, no, everything, you black out on all the other stuff. But you clearly are like, oh wow, that was
He stepped up that run for sure.
like
It was like all right, that was sick.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens.
yeah,
though. I
and it
feel
goes back to
it's-
like the excitement factor and the overall perspective. Like, but no one's really like looking at slow-mo and like, oh, that he kind of pivoted there, he kind of stepped there, and like, oh, maybe he was a little early or like came out untilted a little bit, like could have hold on to that wrap, but you get blown away sometimes by just the
what he was
impression
doing
factor.
in Franco, he was just so fucking impressed that you're not looking at he's pivoting.
No.
You're so blown away by that. How fast
Yeah.
it's going.
Yeah.
Imagine like you
Send
the
of
death
it.
or glory of
like
it.
I wouldn't say
On the edge.
we're
Yeah.
pivoting turns,
Something.
but imagine doing that fast. Like skiing like him that fast.
No one can do it.
It's insane. Same like Jimmy Sullivan. Imagine him like skiing like him at Deer Valley when
With shaman skis.
yeah. Dude, fucking impressive. But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
shit that it's on. I can't even comprehend how he does it.
Dude, like even back in the day, like Dale, like dude, you slow mo any one of his takeoffs, it's like cower wedge pizza
Yeah.
but no one gave a shit because it was so clean and like, damn, that was sweet.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It is crazy though sometimes how that stands out to me more than winning runs is like the skiers, what they're going through and what they overcome, and it's just like, whoa, dude, like that was sick what you just did there. Like knowing what you've been through and what you're going through, how you're skiing, learning how to go through those turns is just like
The one that's consistently
Those are
consistent, and when he hits it, I think back to Treblanc before the 2018 games when Akuma like
sick.
hits it, you're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Because no one said it, but I want to say that nowadays Mogul skiing is better than it was back in the days. We have the best run because we have skiers that have different techniques. We have Ben carving, Ikoma carving, Walter you can say more pivoting. But with the jumps effect that are so clean, we have the best run, I think. We don't have the recul. We don't have the step back from this run because we are on it, but I think they are one of the best run in what we can see in history of Mogul skiing.
It's hard to put it in perspective when you're living through it, etc.
But
and
what
people always like to say, "Oh, it's better before,"
after 2006, kind of for me.
Because the way I look at it is, normally people would retire at 26, 28, but now you got Mick, Matt, into their 30s. Me, I'm in going on to 30. We're still going. and then you've got the younger generation, Walter, Akuma, and then now you've got Cole McDonald, Nick Page, which are a very young generation, Philip Gravenforth, even younger. And so I've just mentioned, 7 or 8 guys. There's only 6 places in super final, and that's before even mentioning a podium.
Right.
So the level is crazy at the moment.
It's really cool. It's super fun to watch right now for sure. I was just saying earlier before the podcast how that difference from like when I first started competing World Cups in 2011, the difference from like that 3rd place to 20th.
Yeah.
The skiing right now, those guys are so much better than there's a big drop off when I first made World Cup, but now like the drop off is not that far down. Like these guys are way better at that level.
Yeah. And it's like, and the level's just been pushed. And then back in 2011, the 1080 would be you do 3 spins, you kind of land it to 1080. Now you need to have a perfect takeoff. X needs to be at 90 degrees the whole way down, and then perfect landing.
Yeah.
Women now, back 5 years ago, one woman would do a cork, that'd be good.
Yeah.
And then now they do like you have multiple women that do perfect corks every single race.
Yeah.
So it's just stepped up.
It's so sick. Women's mogul skiing over the last 2 cycles. It's so sick. That progression is insane.
Yeah, because since Pyeongchang 2018, like there's Andy Nodi doing back pulls, but then most of the girls were doing 360 still.
Yeah.
It was pretty standout to do a cork.
Yeah.
And now,
like you talked about, right? 7 or 8 names that can make a 6-person super final. I think on the girls, it's even deeper.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Definitely. But at the same time, you did have a 360 on the box at the Olympics. Still there.
Is it a 360 or 360?
360 mute, sorry. There was a grab in there.
Russia, dude.
Yeah.
If Russia comes
I hope that's the last one where we really
Smirnova.
Yeah.
Anastasia
Yeah.
Smirnova.
It's really weird not having Russia on tour.
360 mute, think back then? Yeah.
And back then.
The Nikita, you know what I'm talking about? The Nikita skier.
But
Andre, the other one with
the orange helmet back in the day.
Yeah.
Like
you should have orange helmet for the rest.
back in the day.
Well, I mean,
1 year ago.
It's like
was
Isaac.
it?
That's like
His name is Red Poles and Nikita.
That's bullcrap.
Nikita.
that's like Elliot Valencourt needs to have like a flight.
He needs to have a flight
for the rest of his career.
He's
I
a
know
red helmet.
Yeah, but they have a
red
computer.
helmet kid.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
Kid's got one of the best
Bedroom.
friends I've seen.
Last race
asked
he
if
did, it
this
was
kid,
not
where
big.
is it?
This is 2020.
Okay, I guess it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
I've been retired for a long
and you said back is a date, but yeah, it's,
That's what I mean. Like I feel like he's gonna come back to be pretty good if
Yeah,
they're ever allowed to
exactly.
compete again.
we don't know.
Like, do you think the next time that the Russians can compete are at the Olympic Games?
OAR.
Really?
Yeah, that's probably the next time they compete.
As
Which
they,
is
they
a
will be
crazy.
able to compete in the Olympic Games, but not in World Cup if FIS no.
I mean, let's just say we
You
don't
have
know.
to imagine they'll let them under the same.
Oh, for
name
the
they
Olympics,
did in
yeah.
2018, right?
Yeah, I would.
They
Think
might
so.
not be able to have the.
As a coach, I'm happy that they are not competing, but as a I like.
Fine, yeah.
I mean, we're all like
Yeah.
good friends with those athletes, right? Like they're all tight with us, right?
And did you
And-
see Andre doing a lot of workouts on Instagram or you saw him? No?
He's
like
massive. That's what I'm saying. Like you guys,
like this.
he's just ripped.
Yeah, little
Yeah.
guy, very weak.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like these guys. If what happens if the next time you see them are at the Olympics?
Yeah.
Like they could be.
Yeah.
That kind of seems like their MO.
That
The
could be
past
like a
couple
thing.
cycles.
Because they know how you guys are going, how you guys are doing.
Yeah.
That's what
But
We know nothing.
You know nothing
Yeah.
about how they're doing.
Like,
Right. They can take all the
Sneakily,
steroids for the
Yeah.
But it is crazy, dude. I was thinking about that last night. I'm
Non, mais
like,
t'inquiète, là, dans
oh, shit,
30
these guys
secondes,
could just come back and
là, je suis pas bien.
I mean, Smish was out for years before 18. He came back the season of 18.
Yes,
He
that's
hadn't
like
been
you said,
around.
right?
He hadn't been around for
he
a
had
couple
kinda
years,
been-
and like you weren't really seeing besides
That's
yeah,
gonna be
besides the
crazy.
one
Yeah,
girl.
That's a funny situation.
Well, he was doing the truck, and then he'd do the spin out, right? The like full out. That was
Yeah.
wild.
The loophole truck
Yeah,
driver.
yeah, that was pretty wild. The loophole truck.
Dude, my back.
But like he
just
didn't
thinking
come
about
around
it.
for years and then qualified what?
Yeah,
Third or
third or
fourth
fourth.
in
Like
2018?
Philippe did fourth or third.
Yeah.
With his broken knee, and Ian did like
yeah.
3 or 4, and then
Yeah.
very good qualification in
There's
2018.
was 4.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, Murph was 4.
Schmeech
Was
was
Murph second?
Murph was second.
Murph was
Yeah,
second.
not very
So
good,
Schmeech
but
was
they did very
third,
good
maybe Phil
qualification.
fourth.
Was that?
It's sad for them. They are doing
It was very.
great skill.
That hurt.
At your
I feel like that's one of the interesting things about like back to the judging though, is that they seem to just fit everybody into like a 0.3
yeah.
decimal box, rather than like, okay, clearly, and you can have it as a one-off. I mean, it used to happen fairly regularly back on the World Cup tour. It'd be like, all right, I'm giving that 5-0, like 4-8 or a high to get closer to that. I mean, I remember
On technique.
on tech, just to get that high score. Like if you're trying to get 100, right?
Yeah, you need to use the scale.
Right. Okay.
You have to
so
make differences between
we're going to
skills.
give that a 19.5 as
Yeah.
as a turn score for this event, overall impression, and then all right, the next person to see that's as you touched on earlier, okay, give it a 19 or an 18. Like there's that jump. This is clearly the best turns or best impression that I've seen. You're a level here, next person, rather than like, oh, that's like 0.1 different.
It'd be really cool
It's
to see where mogul skiing went if judges had an impression bonus of like a
5 points.
dude, that was so cool.
They got in school.
120.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
They kind of do because you will get higher turn scores if you do better jumps.
or if you
If they see a run double full cork 10 with the same skiing, they will judge higher for the double full cork 10 run.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
very
So
true.
it is kind
but
of
it's
there.
not like
right?
the skiing where it's like there's one run, I think maybe it was last I'm not good at this. It was at Deer Valley when Walter landed the top air and like pumped.
Yeah,
2020.
Yeah, okay. See, you're good at this.
yeah.
He went straight. Like,
You're our Emerson. Okay, we understand where you are now. That was so fucking sick. Like
That
that
should almost be like bonus.
if I was a
points.
judge, I was like, I would have been handing out those points,
Yeah,
like
but-
that was so
Actually, that one sucked because you dueled me that year and did it to me.
Yeah.
That was a bummer.
But we can have also mistake like they will like a front flip with a guy who has a beer.
Oh,
There's
there's that. There's that.
oh, as far as that impression.
Yeah.
That's true. It's like, oh, he did a sick
Dude, his front flip. Oh man.
he's a
Yeah, after the
he's a
Olympics.
minor,
Yeah,
dude.
this
That,
guy.
that fits
Let's
so
just do that right
He
now.
was a
Like,
legend.
his job, he is a minor.
Yeah.
That
And
is
he
so
looked like
appropriate.
In
like a minor from a fantasy.
2008 or 7, he was a legend because he has a big beard.
Yeah,
and I remember my parents were a fan of him because he has
Yeah,
a big
big,
beard doing
yeah.
front flips. They were like, oh, this guy is amazing.
After the Olympics in 2014, I was at a bar and this guy said, "Oh, did you see that guy who did a sick front flip?
Yeah.
What did you do?" And I said, "Oh, I did a cork 10." He was like, "Oh,
And we
that's pretty shit." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
And everyone was loving it.
Get ready to suck up
I was-
back X.
I was gonna say, well,
no,
I was gonna see the chooch front flip. Is that you just slide up the
Dude.
jump?
You would land. You would land.
it's like Cavet doing big front flips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing because even for us we can't do front flip like him because
Yeah.
it's still amazing, but
It's a crowd pleaser.
Right? Like,
yeah.
but in the old days of like
I wonder
straight
if that's
7.
where it would go.
Yeah,
dude.
Straight
Yeah.
7?
Nah.
Like
Yeah.
playing this game back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
But the
interesting with
question is-
all the scores you look at, like snowboard, half pipe, ski, half pipe, slopestyle, all this, they get 100-point scores
Yeah.
Yeah,
once a year, maybe once every 2 years, right? Like they're not constantly chasing this elusive perfection idea
Kind of.
because people have done it. People have been
Yeah.
perfect.
It is
Whereas
like-
Mogul's
just for
being-
the spectators, it makes it exciting.
Yeah.
Because you hear, 99 points. You're like, oh,
you're like, that
you
was
see
great.
that right?
Like,
you know,
it's weird.
82 and you're
Yeah.
like,
yeah, oh,
that guy
and he
sucks.
won with that.
But that guy
Yeah.
was supposed to go. Like,
I'm sure,
man, where are the good
I'm
people?
sure they have the same issue as we do. Between skiers, they have like, fuck, judging wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
they
for
have the
sure.
same issue
Yeah.
because it's still a judging sport. So
It's
like,
still a
like,
human error.
I think, like, as far as much as we shit on judging and everything, like I'd say it's pretty good.
Like
Yeah,
more
yeah.
often than not,
Especially
they
top
choose the
six
winner
is
correctly.
it's
Yeah.
pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Like they might miss a few, but they do a good job.
But I do think they do need to elevate the scores. It is weird,
Oh, yeah, for
like
sure.
right, like oh, the guy won like a C minus, like a 79 like,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
college. Like you're barely past
You're
it. Like you're
average.
average. Like what? Like
Yeah, to go back to what Bobby was saying earlier, almost the best skier of the day could get 20 points for his turns. You know, the best jump of the day could get 10 points, you know,
Yeah.
systematically. You know,
Yeah.
just to bump the scores up a bit, you know.
and even like making finals when you see like the finals sheet to make it in the top 16. Like we've all been in school, we're like really like a 58. Like that would be
Yeah.
getting me shit and everything else in the world. But like,
Curves.
gets
Deer
to
Valley this year, what was it to get it?
Oh, yeah, it was
Yeah,
brutal.
half the field was down bottom DNF. watching it.
I think it was like 65 or 67.
you call that the rest of the world, that's a fail.
Yeah.
That's an F.
Yeah, because again, it doesn't matter how many points you're scoring; it matters the difference between.
Yeah,
the two.
but it, like you were saying, it like
Just
gets
bump
the
the
crowd involved.
Exactly.
Like that, there's more of a simulation to it.
Yeah,
I love that about duels and how sick is that it's in the Olympics
best thing that could happen to our sport.
because that
The drag
is
racing
what-
of Mogul.
that's what connects to
Yeah.
the spectator.
Yeah.
Like the spectators, like, oh, definitely blue. Like Deer Valley, I've walked around the crowd and they don't know, they've no business
Yeah.
in Mogul
Yeah.
skiing at all.
Yeah,
And they're like, they're in having bets like red course blue, and it's
Yeah.
so sick.
Yeah.
And that's what gets, the spectators involved. And if there's any way you can do that with
That
singles,
goes back to the perspective like factor.
then you can
Yeah.
have that as well.
Yeah,
Did we do like back in the day at X Games where you like text in who you think won?
yeah.
I mean, like back in the day, like X Games, like okay, like it was like
Everyone
early,
was
like
typing
early
in
big
Taylor
air,
Hall.
like big air, like wasn't like a judge thing. You'd be like, okay, like text in who had the best trick, and they like went off the crowd. Like
the
that's
double
sick,
from
yeah.
Philippe, Simon Duman. You remember his game? He won because it was a crowd judging.
Yeah.
He did a big double front flip Superman. He won his game, even if guys doing like a first double cork 20 or 20 or 12. Yeah. He won because it was a crowd that was judging.
Imagine if it was a double party.
yeah, never. Yeah, like bring back like the what was it, Teen Airwaves? Remember
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
That'd be sick. I love that. 'Cause, I mean, that stuff's awesome for a sport. Anything like
But
that is great.
we can say that in Livigno 2026, I think the sport gonna be it's gonna be huge for us because it will be Olympic duel in Olympics, and it's the best thing that happened.
For sure.
I think
It's the
Yeah.
right
biggest
now
crowd. Yeah.
we can say that we don't care about double flipping in our sport. For me, even if I like double flip, I think it's not the best thing for our sport because
I agree.
I agree.
it makes like even here you see like a shitty transition.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never even here we don't see like a perfect double back full and cock 1080. You see,
Yeah.
so
That's what I always thought about the double flip debate. I was like,
We're
let's
not.
all concentrate on getting dual moguls into the Olympics,
Yeah.
and then we'll think about that. This is the most important thing. So far.
And we are. It's a skiing sport.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
Yeah.
double flips will, I think, take that away.
I
think
agree.
it'll turn into an air sport like slopestyle and
yeah.
Because especially top guys can do doubles as it is,
Yeah.
But to make it safe for developing athletes,
yeah, and
You
also
need
that
to-
connection is really key.
yeah.
Having
100%.
that
Because otherwise,
connection
it turns out
with
like
those
half pipe
people.
ski.
Totally.
Like,
Like
no kids
nobody
wanna
wants
do
to
it
do that
anymore.
ever.
It's not even that. Like
Like I don't want to put my kid in that.
Thank you for
Like I can't be a part of. Oh, I've skied outer limits, right? I know what these guys are going. Like this is insane. They're skiing it this fast. Like that connection is huge.
Yeah.
And with parents, it's like, yeah, like if they throw a backflip, that'd be. I mean, I'm a little nervous, but still, it'll be cool, right?
100%.
Yeah,
That
and
takes
the World Cup skiers are doing backflips. Like, that's so cool. That connection is really sweet, and that's something that if we do go into double flips with mogul skiing, potentially could take away from that.
I think it's
look at aerials, right? Like,
and we will be worse jumpers and bigger area. So
yeah.
I think it'd be cool just to have one event.
But that's like
Yeah,
that's like
yeah,
the team airways, exactly. Yeah.
Pro event,
Yeah.
completely
Or
separate
A bomb,
from
or A bomb.
A bomb, yeah.
yeah, or in Mogul, which is
Yeah,
a good course,
yeah.
but I think the last station,
It's a
last
bottom.
section,
It's an air show on the bottom.
yeah, like doing like 4 bumps like this.
Wait, isn't World Cup
Yeah.
finals like kind of separate?
Yeah, kind
It's
of.
kind of a separate event.
Or like back in the day.
I think it'd be cool to do if you had one event where you had like you know, normal top section and then like 15 turn middle section, and then you just had like 50 turns, 60 turns in the bottom section. Just like full on.
That would be
The
crazy.
longest part of the course is the bottom section.
right.
It's like, all right, you want to choose your bottom air? Like, all right, good luck. You got 60 turns to go.
Like,
Or just like, because that's always, I don't know, I feel like that's such a pet peeve, especially with a lot of the courses now. It's like, all right,
oh yeah, the bottom
you
section
got
is-
4 turns. It doesn't really exist. It's like whatever. How, and I'm not saying every stop, but just like one stop. If you had like 40 turns, it was like, oh god.
Well, they used to do an event back in the day. Remember like Sunday River. It was like moguls, rail, big air.
Yeah.
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 What's your
Wild.
thing?
Okay.
Put your hand on the wall. Get grounded, dude. Spinning.
Buckle up. That's funny.
Emerson, what do you think? 40, 50 turn bottom section? It was just one stop.
Dude,
I'd love to see one.
I'm glad I'm not in the sport anymore. Of that.
That's been wild though, right?
I remember like 17, 18 in Tremblant, the bottom section was long as ever, and the amount of bitching going on about that bottom section was huge.
Did the
But it was like
yeah.
it's like 12 turns.
The O2 Olympic, the bottom section.
gotta see it.
You can see the bottom. That was the last like long bottom section in a big event. Was the O2 Olympic.
2003 World Championships, Deer Valley was a really long bottom section. I got the
Same
video,
course,
and
same
there's
course.
a lot of people struggling to make it. Make it
So
through the bottom section.
what's your point of view?
for the
Yeah, for the bottom section.
Well, I feel like there's just so much like it's all right. You land the bottom air, and then it's like the run's done.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people that like you don't even try, and you essentially just like, oh yeah, like, what like. I would like harsher judging or more like you just land and like point them straight and don't even like. And I understand there's a lot of it. You're trying to get the speed points and everything else, but like have that carving and actually finish the run. Like you go back and look at some of those. I don't think I've seen, at least probably in the last like 3 or 4 years, somebody like turning through the finish. Like that used to be pretty like commonplace. It's like everybody just turning all the way through like 4 or 5 turns like after the fact to be like I'm in control, like I know what I'm doing.
You
And I think
continue to
that's-
give this advice.
Yeah.
Akuma does it pretty well when he gets a little drift on bottom air.
Yeah, it's full absorption.
He sells it pretty good when he just goes right over that center line between the two.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. I think that so it'd be fun. I'm not saying like the full tour, but just if there's one stop or like a pro event, you have like 6 turns top air, like 10 turns bottom air, and then it's just like, all right, now you're skiing. Because if you go back and watch some of those old like spontaneous jumps and everything else, I mean, there's a lot of that where you got to have that control to be able to finish all the way through and accelerate, decelerate. It's extremely difficult as it is, right? You're hauling ass in, you're doing like a fucking sick 10 or 14 or whatever it is, and then it's like, okay, now
I landed it. No,
I'm done.
it runs over.
Landed as it runs over, like okay.
If you want to, we can ask our boss to do it in Alpe d'Huez.
Love it.
First jump, 10 bumps, and then a big bottom section. We can do it.
Love it. That would be awesome.
All the athletes are like, you, Bobby.
Everyone listening.
Everyone
I was like, what a fucking dick.
What an asshole. Yeah, he can say that. He's not skiing in the competition.
It would be cool though. It would be cool. Tell me I'm wrong. Might be hard.
But yeah, to have like as you said, for your preparation in Perisher, it was better to have like 10 bumps before the front jump. But what I like when I was there, that it was a big top section. It wasn't common. You have you have something else to do than even if it's not for the rest of the season, like
variety.
Or a good training, maybe because you don't have this in World Cup. It's still a good challenge.
Yeah,
do it.
It made top
still
stream.
I think they should just host a World Cup.
Yeah.
How would you feel about going down to top of stream to a World Cup in August? You'd be down for it?
All the teams are there.
I agree.
We talk about like more
It'd be
events.
sick if they did a summer tour.
We talk about more events on the calendar, like the aerials are starting to do more with like the water ramp events, right? Like if you had more like, okay, here's everyone's going to this fucking destination anyway, whether it's Argentina, Chile, Perisher,
Go to Taiwan and ski the
plastic. Plastic. Right? Like
Sim gave a great tutorial.
Right? Like, all right, we're getting the season started early here. Like we have enough players. We're getting another
The top of the stream is a World Cup course though.
Yeah,
That's something that
Dude, he would lose his shit if they held the World Cup.
And New Zealand, I mean, there could definitely be a stop there too.
Because you are going for your overseas to go to Valmarinko, which for us it's only like 5 hours of driving, which is not okay. It's good. We have a World Cup. We only go there for 3 days, but for you it's like a bigger travel.
Yeah.
So to go to a very good course to do a big travel, it can be okay. So
I think it'd be awesome to have a little 2-stop 4-event tour.
Yeah, 4 events
before it melts out. Whistler ID1 course.
Yeah, I mean, we had a World Cup course this year. It was pretty sick, dude.
It's usually what, like 6 lines.
Yeah, go all out up there.
But I think that would be cool to have a little bit more
keep
variety.
Judges sharp.
Just a little bit of variety in the different.
Do you think duels being in the Olympics is going to change dual mogul skiing?
100%. I think it'll change.
I don't think it's going to be like a big change for us, but for I don't know it's still a big change, but not a big change for us like in the sport. I don't think it will evolve a lot, but it's still like a big change.
Yeah,
I don't know
for us, I guess like in 2 Olympic cycles, if like duels is still on there. Do you think it'll change?
Well, they had a few different, like, at least over the last few years, just in how they judge it, right? You have the different, like, okay, we're judging each run as a singles run.
That was a terrible move.
Not one of my favorite moves.
Your point of view, what is how they can build the course that duels can be safe for Olympics, that we don't have like crazy guys going straight, and because even for World Cups, some guys are ready to kind of die to win.
Yeah.
So how can we make a course like safe?
I think the best bet is just don't let the Swedes ski.
Yeah, but
get rid of the chute.
What is the best? Tiny bumps and then shitty transition, or easy transitions and big bumps? It's
I think it'll be better on an Olympic course. I think the most
it's always
I think it's better on a more difficult course because you have to make it to the bottom air before you can do something crazy.
I don't know, but like Deer Valley is not like an
Brad
easy
versus Daichi.
Like, I was gonna say 2 words: Daichi Hara.
Yeah.
I think they have to stop. Basically, the chooch backflip has to go away.
Well, that's the thing is the dual mogul skiing right now. Sorry, but the chooch is something that people are talking about. Like, how do you get rid of it?
There's an athlete out there like practicing.
I mean, they used to reward real tricks on bottom air.
We are going to practice them,
but it was faster. You beat them once you could do it. You'd pass people on the bottom jump, and eventually it just evolved into what it is now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you do put the timing, because that was one of the things, is put the timing into the bottom transition.
Like in Mojev 2015.
Yeah.
It lessens it, but you can still come in a lot.
Exactly. You're still trying to get to that beam, and that's what the chooch is.
Yeah.
The chooch isn't necessarily getting across the line first. It is, but
it's
the amount of speed you can pull into that is so much faster than any other jump. You could, I mean, if you make the landing way bigger, potentially you could get some, more amplitude and put amplitude maybe in.
I kind of like that idea of moving the beams up the course, right? Because then you're setting up more like, well, like me doing a chooch is eliminating the speed factor. Like I actually need to set up and hit a cork 10.
I think if they move the timing up, it will evolve back to people doing cork 10s on bottom.
Yeah,
because you'll be able to the athletes will evolve and figure out how to take that speed, bigger transition, maybe whatever.
Do you think
into a big
change
cork 10.
the bottom jump for? Do you think you will change the bottom jump for the team?
For the timing?
No. For do you think it will be changed the bottom air for the athletes?
Yeah.
Do you think they will change their backflip for D7 for timing?
I don't.
You know,
I don't.
I think
if you're trying to get to the
an argument that we were talking about earlier about double flips was not making the transition longer or the landing hill longer. So if we're then saying that it would be good for Jules, it's kind of
that changes the whole course.
Yeah,
and that's where it evolves.
It changes mogul skiing, because what is mogul skiing? It's skiing fast in the bumps and then straight away you've got to jump. That's what makes our sport our sport.
Yeah.
But I think the judges have full control over it, because if one race they start marking down radically chooch backflips,
then it'll change, and then you have to worry.
Next race,
exactly.
all the athletes know what's doing it.
All it takes is one person to win, not doing a chooch.
It's too much pressure to put on an athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the moment, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
The other guy's going to score you by 2 seconds.
You're going to do a chooch for
and-
sure.
I think also like a big aspect of it is or just thinking about like if you have the beams like beforehand and you are a spectator showing up to 2026, like you're spending money, you're going in and already there are a lot of aspects that don't know our sport well to be able to try to understand everything. I mean, one of the things about duels that makes it so exciting as a spectator sport, and you're like, all right, like you cross the line first.
Yeah,
That makes sense to anyone watching. Like, okay, that guy probably won, right?
yeah.
Like, oh no, he didn't because like multiple other reasons. Well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
he got to the
that's
bottom.
right.
He got to the bottom first. How did he not win? Like that's pretty. And so I think that at least in this the first iteration as it comes out as Olympic
I think
sport,
it would take
I think it's very hard to be able to figure out how to. I mean, really, as you said, Ben, the power is in the judges to kill the chooch. They have the power to do it and not score the tricks. But I mean, like as an athlete, like as you guys talked about in singles, right? You have that impression that like. The impression is, okay, if I smoke somebody by 2 seconds and I choose the bottom air, like, yeah, maybe those turns, that's 4-1 turns. Yeah. You beat them by 2 seconds. Yeah. You fucking cook them. Yeah. Like, whether you.
And if you do have the timing above the bottom air, that the spectators still can see that. And if they understand that that's the end for duels, getting across that, and then they see this massive cork 10 compared to this small backflip. Right. Like, do they?
They always prefer the backflip too.
I don't think so. I think
spectators they love a back.
They love a backflip, especially one like completely out of control. They see the replay and like your knees are like up here. They're like, oh my god, how did he do that?
And then you land in second bomb.
Yeah.
And even
my argument would be like, then why is Ariel still around? Like it's a lot of flips, a lot of twists. Like you could add more excitement to the bottom air rather than one flip and it's small and being down the hill. Like people are smart enough to be like, holy shit, that was a lot of flips, that was a lot of spin. If you put the pressure on the athlete to make an adjustment with moving the beam up, like.
But when you are skiing duels, what I think everybody likes when we were skier or you're skier, it's to cross the line first. So if you take it away, I think it will not be the same, because when you're skiing duels, one of the best things is to know that if you cross the line first, you will have a big chance to win.
Yeah.
I mean, you have this feeling like I cross the line first. Okay, I did one part of the.
But I think we're until the chooch. I think all of us were still thinking of like I need to still ski my run and not make that much of a jump.
You will see. I'm sure that it's gonna be like in every sport. Everybody gonna be so much. They can win a gold Olympics. so good in this to ski fast and to do a good bottom jump. Because this year we didn't see like a big mistake, even if they were skiing very fast. We didn't see the crazy thing, I think.
Yeah, it was no double backflips.
Yeah, no double backflips. We saw like
almost hits on the bottom there.
If tomorrow the absolute backflip rate 0,
yeah.
That's nuts.
no one gonna do
Right.
no one gonna absorb the backflip.
Right.
You just have to do one race on. If you absorb the fucking backflip at the bottom, it changed everything. It changed everything.
If we
You're
say
saying,
like,
sorry, you're saying if you
you do a backflip on the bottom,
If
it's
we
zero.
ban
We're just
No.
backflip, no?
If
No?
you absorb,
If you absorb,
absorb.
right. You have 0 points.
The thing that I find difficult with banning a chooch backflip is, we'll always find a way around it.
Yeah,
Either
you
you'll do a
can
chooch backflip up top, or you do a cheech cork 7 on the bottom.
Right. You guys are too good.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
I'll
thing.
choose someone absorbing a jump, or some.
you're gonna the
You have some.
He's absorbed the jump.
He's
Disqualified.
out. He's
He
out.
would get disqualified in singles.
the really shitty
just
thing
didn't know
about
what
that
that-
though is
I
that
was like, So jump.
you're adding another level for the judges to take that control.
Right, as you touched on.
Well, like we're down at the bottom, like they both chooched. Why didn't they both get a 0? Right, and then you add that, it just becomes a whole nother.
A whole nother thing.
And what's what is the defining factor of an absorbed jump?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who absorb it that are really good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
They absorb it for the security.
Mhm.
You know what
For
I mean?
sure, that's
Yeah.
safety.
For sure, it's for safety, but you can see
But
if
isn't
you-
this-
I mean, you go back to the Daichi
Yeah,
duel
yeah.
where he
if for safety you score 0, and if you see a good back X with
Good buff.
yeah.
Like, is
It's
it
nice
nice
there.
than not
Yeah.
doing a chooch?
I think it's quite easy to see it.
But for me, the rule should be if it's judged from the bottom. If you can see that in it, because when it's done really well, you can't even see from the bottom that it's absorbed.
Mhm.
Because you're still getting pretty good height. You're landing far down. But when you see that people are banging their heads on their knees,
Yeah.
when you see that you're stretching out, then you should get a really poor
But
score.
even in singles right now, some guys are absorbing the jumps.
that are doing really good.
Yeah,
tricks.
you can't really see, and you say,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
it was good
yeah.
control of Easter eggs because he's absorbing.
Zero problem.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's very even for us. It's sometimes difficult to see.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult.
It's a tough. That is very tough.
Yeah, but I think
Right.
on his own is gonna go on the right way because everybody want to be the best and the cleaner and the best indoors because they can win Olympic gold medal.
Yeah,
So everybody is the game gonna step up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think for the next Olympics, fuck it, leave it how it is. It's gonna be
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll see. I mean, it could be sick and
It's
not
gonna
be an
sick.
issue at all,
Yeah.
right? I
It's
mean,
gonna be awesome.
And it could be like kind of two different spots. Singles like you are on your own, you are doing your run, and then and you also no, but it makes like fast skier they can win a gold medal and sometimes they can't win it in a single because they
I mean,
start the tricks and
personally, I hope it doesn't change. I hope they keep it kind of how it is, and athletes
Yeah.
they're going to continue to evolve.
I mean, I think the biggest
and
issue.
you go back
is,
to Valmalenko that you talked about. What Walter did, right? They both did chooch,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
sorry, Sincom, but it was or no, sorry, I'm thinking Valmalenko, where like Mick and Ikuma both Ikuma crashed, but did the chooch. But what Ikuma and Mick were doing in that middle section was to get down. They're still getting down to the bottom, but what they're doing in the middle section was just so
amazing.
Yeah.
impressive.
But I think
It's
I think the bigger issue is to talk to that Valmalenko course, and the biggest like chooch will eventually work itself out, and they'll figure out a way. But like, all right, if it's a 3-line course or whatever it is, and like Valmalenko, and you have one that is completely unfavorable to the other side, like that event, right? Like to be able to make it down red course, right, was like no one could make it down the red course, and then like that
but
that to me is.
I guess what I'm saying is if everybody's doing chooches, it's still going to evolve to
still the best guy.
middle
to win.
section
Yeah.
being, you're gonna have to
Right.
make it down
Yeah,
the middle
exactly.
section so
exactly.
fast.
I love what you said
Yeah,
because it's still fucking impressive.
yeah, and there, it just, if everybody's doing it, at one point it was, oh, you do the chooch, you win. But now, like, if everyone's doing the chooch, it's the middle section, whoever can ski that the fastest wins.
But I think, yeah,
If
that's
you
like
want
a
beer,
one that I
it's
find
really-
interesting though, is to figure out like how those courses are gonna line up.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the
I
biggest.
think it's just to make the course difficult enough that you can separate yourself from the other
Right.
before getting to the bottom end.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
As they're doing in slope times, they are not doing like big jumps right now. They are doing like normal jumps, and they are spinning both ways and not triple cocks. So it can be like as you said, like difficult course, and then we will see the best gear because
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
you
then again,
can go
judges,
straight, yeah.
you know, if the guy has gone straight and made, you know, some mistakes, and then the person next to him is doing really good skiing, well, it's the guy doing the good skiing that wins.
Yeah.
You know?
As Ikoma did in Balmenko this year
Yeah.
against me.
Mm.
They were as fast as both, but Ikoma did better time. So.
How would you feel about left side and then right side? As in like a slope style, if you did like left side 10 to right side 10 on bottom air or top air, like how do you think? Because that was one of the somebody brought that up. It was like, oh well, in slope style, you know, they got left side, they got right side, they got switch, and I was like, well, switch happened a long time ago. There's a bunch of people in the U.S. that went down that rabbit hole. Marty Odlin,
David
big
Babbitt.
proponent. Yeah, a lot of people try to go switch and try to do that, but
I was gonna
I
say,
think-
like, trivia question: what was the Cork 10 called before the Cork 10?
tuna can. At
That's
least in the
it.
U.S.
Tuna
David
can.
Babbitt had
Like
a
your
tuna can.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
But like to have
Yeah.
a left side and then right side, I
God,
mean, you think too much complication? Because I know that one of the judging, at least in the scoring for airs that they went away with, is there is no longer an O. Everything is OP. So if you do cork 7 without a cross on purpose, it is scored as a poor 7 without a cross. Same thing with a 10. There's no longer a 10-0. It's just 10 OP.
Yeah. I think for both directional spins, they have to give us a few years warning. So either you retire or you start training for it.
Have you tried right side fulls?
Yeah,
They're pretty.
you just
easy.
follow technique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would go that route.
Instead of left arm, it's right arm.
Yeah, it's
Easy.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw like Ikoma 2 years ago. Last Zermatt, he was doing like a back full and a cock 7 run on the right side.
Yeah.
Mm.
So he came and coached for us in Whistler at the ID1 camp, and
But
he did double cork 10
and then on the
left,
right
and then
side.
double cork 10 right.
Is that one guy thing, you know, because he's like amazing, or because De Jong did some cock 7 on the right side in New Zealand? De Jong, the Korean guy.
I honestly don't think it would change much. I think we would
No, I don't
we would
think-
evolve pretty easily. I don't think it would take that long for people to learn how to do it both ways.
I mean, Sho Kashima did it his whole career.
Yeah, he didn't know how to do back full one way, or he couldn't separate it, so he went full left and cork right.
I don't see it making mogul skiing any better.
I don't think it's gonna make an effect.
No. Nobody.
Like we were
I
talking
agree.
about overall presentation factor, like no one's gonna know at the bottom, like, oh wow, like he went that way versus this way. But
The only ones who
Judge
really ask about that are slopestyle athletes.
That's who asked, by the way. Yeah, that is who brought up that.
I mean, we all like can tip the cap to it. I think we're like, holy shit, that's impressive. But
I tipped the cap to the ones that tried to do switch in the
Yeah,
box.
true.
That was like
That was crazy.
it was a wild move.
Switch cork 5.
last bump.
I hit this thing backwards.
That's
Imagine coming in like
That's
speed
so
that you guys
hard.
are to just hop a 180 and then bottom and then cork 5.
imagine the huge switch backflip.
The shaman skis would be on the Everyone would be on them.
Where it was Fatipus back in the day. That yeah, bad to do it.
That was, yeah. You guys excited about the upcoming season? Yeah?
Yeah.
We wrap this thing up here, probably.
think we're out of wine, so we should probably
That's what we said. End of the wine.
End of the
And
wine.
podcast.
Yeah.
I can
That's
see
good,
one
though.
more butter here.
That's a gift. We did that the other night. We're like, it's a gift. We'll get another one.
Classic.
Any finishing thoughts? Anything you guys want to add in?
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Bob.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
chat.
joining us.
Vive la France. Thank you.
Vive la France.
Good. All right. Thank you
Merci,
guys.
merci. There you go. It's a wrap.
I think that was a huge success.